know what the website is for that live show? It's in the chat, right? Entertainment one. Hello and welcome to Robotech World. Today we have a special show. We're doing a live reaction from the San Diego Comic-Con online panel. So Memo, I'm welcoming Memo right now. Memo, how are you doing? And hey, we have a special someone else also showed up. Hey Brian, what's up? Not much. Just getting ready for the video. Right now they still haven't started the live stream yet for from San Diego regarding the panel with Harmony Gold. And I believe there's going to be some special guests. I believe Tony Oliver is going to be there, and they're going to discuss what's coming on in regards to Robotech, and if there's any movement with live action movie and other productions. For example, Harmony Gold recently negotiated a deal with Pluto TV, and they also have a deal with Funimation. Now, Funimation is going to be an interesting one because there seems to be, based on the previous panel that Tommy had with some of the licensees, he mentioned something regarding working with Funimation on, I believe it's a project. So, Memo, did you hear something like that on the previous panel that came out last night? Yes. Okay, and I also heard there was some new products with Udon Studio. Is it Udon that's producing the pins? Udon Entertainment. Yes, regarding Robotech Art Book 1, I believe that's the one that's really rare to find these days, and it seems to be there's a lot of demand from the fans to get an updated version on that copy. Do you have any predictions of what they might be bringing out this time around with regards to any news in terms of any moon from Sony or Funimation? Memo, I think you're muted. So I guess they're only hearing me. Is that what it is? Even oh, okay, hold on. Let me see if it's on my end. What about? Can you hear everyone else? Brian, Trez, can you guys speak and see if the fans can hear you? Hold on.
I hear Brian, but on the phone. Can you hear Trey's?
I think they're gonna hear you now. Hold on.
Testing.
Hello.
Hello.
Why can't you hear Trey's?
Yes, they can now.
I hear Trez now.
Okay, so they can hear us now. Okay, so we're good. Okay, so
Okay,
let's start from the
I
beginning.
can hear myself now.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning, Memo. What's your anticipation from this panel that's going to be happening live in 20 minutes in regards to any news coming from either Harmony Gold, Sony, or Harmony Gold's licensees? Any expectations?
I don't know. I just want to know if there's a director.
That's all you want to know is just the director?
Yeah, the director. Because without the director, this project ain't gonna move nowhere. This live action project. Without the live action, unless they give us more animation, that ain't gonna happen. So, because they said Harmony Gold's been saying they want to have the live action movie out. All they're doing is just streaming Robotech, the original 85 episodes here, plus Southern Cross Shadow Chronicles movie. They're streaming it here, they're streaming it there. Oh, we're gonna do new things. We're streaming it over here. Oh, we're gonna do new things. But in the end, what are the new things? You know, what does this deal mean? Oh, we're gonna have Robotech out there. I'm like, yeah, but it becomes very stale. I mean, people are gonna see it however many times. I got the DVDs. What do you call it? But everybody who's out there is waiting on the live action or Shadow Rising. So that happened.
So do you think, considering the situation now with what's happening globally in terms of the pandemic that's occurring, and knowing that has a significant impact in the media entertainment industry, do you foresee possibly a delay in any future productions, either from Robotech, like in terms of Robotech comics or even animation projects? Because it seems like the impact also occurred with Diamond Distribution and a few other companies that are feeling the impact of this pandemic.
Titan Comics is the other one. Tommy on yesterday's panel, on the Icon Heroes panel. Go over to Icon's Heroes on YouTube TV. They have their Robotech talk, and what's his name was there from Toynami? I'm trying to remember his name. George Song. George Song from. He gives a good history of when he got sued while working or with his company in Japan. How he became to the U.S. and actually started working with the people he got sued by, right? So that was pretty interesting. I already knew the story, but I never heard George Shun come out and talk about it. So it was very interesting to talk about, to get a perspective of what happened with that toy industry, how Harmony Gold got involved and blocked a lot of the Macross stuff. And it became a big mess. That was, I think, 2002, I think, and how Toonami became what it became right now. So they're talking about producing projects. Con Heroes is talking about producing a couple of merch as well. So they're talking about 6-7 months. That takes a while to process, go through the whole process. On the comic books, they look like Titan Comics and Harmony Gold are doing something, because they're saying I think I heard that they might have something out by end of the year. So they still got the story. They still got Robotech. What do you call that Robotech that just came out in the comics?
The remix?
Yeah, Robotech remix. So they're gonna probably still continue with something coming out by the end of the year. So that's gonna be end of the year, and anything else would be, everything got affected, everything got pushed back, but we'll see what happens. And for the live action movie, like we spoke on previous podcasts, nobody's working, nobody's pulling together. I mean, nothing is pulling together. Everybody's just avoiding movie making right now. other than the Netflix shows that are popping up.
Yeah, speaking of Netflix, Harmony Gold recently announced, well, actually, Kevin McKeever from Harmony Gold announced that they're now streaming on Pluto TV on the panel last night.
They're streaming where?
On Pluto TV. Pluto TV?
Okay, Pluto TV. I don't know about Pluto TV. I don't know nothing about it. The only thing I have on my TV is Crunchyroll, because we see a lot of anime. Me and my daughter see a lot of anime. And there's some good anime out there. There's always refreshing. There's episodes already that passed Robotech in production, season 2, season 3, and I'm like, damn, these guys are producing a lot of anime, but Harmony Gold is still stuck. What do you call it? And let's see, Netflix, Crunchyroll. That's about the only thing I watch: Netflix and Crunchyroll and YouTube TV. So those are the 3 major streamings that I have. Hulu, I'll only get Hulu if I really need to, or there's a new Robotech show. So there's really nothing that pushed me to get Hulu. Anything that's on Hulu, I'm already watching in Crunchyroll, and then some. So unless you want to see the English voice acting, then you would get Hulu for a lot of the anime. But I'm happy where I'm at. So if they say, oh, we got Pluto TV, I'm like, what is that? What I needed? What's making me go there? Are you gonna put new animation? You know, are you gonna put like a new episode coming out next month? Dude, I'll jump on it. Tell me you're gonna have new animation on it. You know, tell me that you're gonna start streaming new works, and I'll be like, dude, get me on, sign me on. I'll download the app right now. But to rewatch Robotech, screw those apps. You know, until something comes out, until something entices me, it just becomes another what do you call it? Oh, here we're streaming now. You know, all right, cool, yay, whippy. You know, it has to be something that makes me download Pluto TV. Either that, or it's just Pluto's just gonna be far out there. You know.
Well, the interesting thing is what they're doing with Pluto TV is basically they're going to be marathoning the entire series on that streaming service. So I don't know if it's going to be like a live stream, because Pluto does a lot of channel, like variety of channel selection, so everything's scheduled. It's not necessarily a la carte, you could say, in terms of choosing when to watch it. So it's kind of an interesting service, because some of the services that Pluto provides, there's a lot of free services available. So for those fans that want to see Robotech, well, or someone who's new, who's never seen Robotech before, that might be a good opportunity for them to just have a chance to look at the series and get introduced into this anime franchise. So anyway, I want to, before we go any further, I just want to welcome Trez to the show. Trez, how you doing?
Doing my best.
Yeah, and Brian, how you doing? How are you doing, Lancer?
I am well, thank you very much for asking.
Are you feeling better, or are you under the weather, or?
No, I'm fine. Actually, I just got done making myself some a new recipe of Swedish meatballs that I just tried out earlier, and it came out pretty well.
Oh, good. What are your thoughts, Trez or Lancer, regarding like, what do you anticipate, since we got around 10 more minutes before the stream starts? What do you think is going to come out of this panel? Because there's a lot of speculation that something might be occurring between Harmony Gold and Funimation, and like, it's kind of interesting because I watched that panel last night, and Tommy Yoon mentioned that they're working with Funimation, and working with Funimation, I know Funimation produces their own anime. So is it possible that with Sony owning Funimation and Harmony Gold working with Funimation, are they going to announce a new animated project? Like, this is purely speculation. I'm going on strictly speculation. So this is just a hunch that, you know, now that Sony owns Funimation, is there some movement we're going to see with, like, maybe having you know, we've been waiting for Shadow Rising for so long. Are they going to go ahead and complete that project, or are they just going to go and create something new that's going to tie into the live action movie? I would like to know what your thoughts are. Like, what do you think is going to come out of this panel?
Well, Funimation's been there before. So it is like Harmony Gold just went around the circle and just came back to Funimation, right?
Are you saying that we've reached the end of the circle?
This is the end of the circle.
I'll be here all night.
It's like high school. You date a girl over here, you date another girl, and then when you're done, and like, okay, back to the same one. So, I do not know because Sony is involved now. So, what if Funimation has planned? They've been friends before, so I've seen these before that, but that was early in the 2000s. That was early 2003 era, you know, early when Shadow Chronicles was coming out. No, 2006, I think.
2007.
Don't quote me on that. But yeah, and now it's almost, by the time we get to 2021, I believe that's when things are going to happen. I don't see anything look like it's going to jump in soon. We got to wait for this panel in about, 9 minutes. Are we going to watch the panel and just kind of like try to figure out what they're talking? Are we going to follow it? Or are we going to stream it? Put it up in a little window up here in the corner?
My plan...
What's the plan?
My plan is to, when it starts streaming, I'm going to set it up so that way we watch it in a full screen, and we're going to have it set in gallery mode. So that way whoever ends up speaking will take up the main screen in the corner.
Yeah, it's like Robotech Science Theater 3000.
Pardon me? Sorry?
Okay.
It's like Robotech Science Theater 3000.
Exactly. So if there's something that comes up, hopefully,
a digital company.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's if it's not a live stream, say it's just an uploaded video, which I'm not sure if it was the previous panels were live streamed because I wasn't there when it came out. I was basically just watching it post after it got uploaded. But if it is an uploaded video, we could pause it and probably ask some questions among ourselves or even with those in chat and see if they have any questions regarding what's going on, or have it maybe rewind a little bit and find out what exactly were they saying, because there's going to be some instances where they're going to say something, and if it's not a live stream, say it's just an uploaded video, we could go back and say, okay, we're going to have some clarity because we're going to hear this over again to make sure we heard what we just heard. Because there's going to be a lot of questions that's going to go around. And, let's just play it by ear. We'll watch the whole thing, and then we'll just go and review it back. I'll try to take a note of the timestamps of what's been said in the video, so we can always go back and refer to it. Because we're going to live stream it on this podcast. And we're going to live stream it all together, including with those in chat. So that way we could have a good indication of, what they're going to announce. So I'm just, hopefully, knock on wood, they mentioned something,
Well, I was going to stream it on my TV, but I think the feedback is going to get crazy. So,
yes,
I'll stream it later. I'll watch it with you guys. If something comes up, we could chime in, but let's try to keep if we're at the panel, let's try to keep the chat at a minimal. But, oohs and ahs maybes. But I know, well, let's see what happens, and let's see what oohs and ahs they give us. Other than, I just want to hear what the live action is going to be. Are they gonna announce somebody new, or they're just gonna not say anything about Andy Muschietti?
Well, let's hope something comes out of it, because I think the fans are looking for some sort of production. Let's put it this way: they had their feet wet with stuff like Love Live Live and Shadow Chronicles, and there seems to be some interest now in the franchise. So maybe now is a good time to maybe have something that the people can watch, especially if they could watch it, with all the people at home, dealing with this pandemic. It might be a good time to bring some good stuff out.
So a lot of people can watch it with us. Chill, or you can watch it on your own, stream it, however you want. So I'm gonna watch it with you guys, right here, and I'll probably watch it on the on the YouTube, and see it there. But remember, sometimes if you have problems until you play that video, it'll start at that time. So a lot of people, if you're playing it on your own, you're going to start it at a different time. So everybody's going to start at a different time. So I'm just like, okay, I'll go along with you guys with your stream. and we got 5 more minutes till the panel.
Yep, pretty much.
It's more fun. It's more fun with everybody here, with a group, us being here together. I watch these other panels. My mind roams. It goes washing dishes, or it goes somewhere else. You know, I come back like, what they say? Let me rewind it. I missed a whole lot. You know, you're not like right there in the panel with everybody, and your attention is on the panel. So this is gonna be good because I have you guys. So let's see, and anybody on chat, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay, so what I'm gonna try to do right now is I'm gonna try to set the browser so we could prepare this for the video that's gonna be coming up.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can set this.
Did Juan try to join us? I know Juan wanted to join us, but I guess he couldn't make it.
Let's see what I have here. Okay. Let me put that right here. Okay.
Oh, COVID.
Okay, so I'm just getting ready right now before the stream starts that I'm going to set this so that way, where is it here? We could see the video all together. Right now it doesn't give me a window in regards to setting, maybe that size will be fine. In terms of setting that screen to full screen, because the feed's got to go live before I make that screen stream full screen. So I'm waiting for it to happen. We got approximately my time. We have around 3 minutes. So can't wait.
Start on time. I noticed it will start on time.
Yes. One thing. I believe there's going to be a special guest on this one. I believe Tony Oliver is going to be streaming in this panel.
I wouldn't know.
I thought Tony Oliver is going to be in this one, but maybe it's a different panel. Or sorry, I believe that might be the one on the 28th, which would probably be on a Tuesday. So, but maybe I might be mistaken. But I'm really curious in terms of what's going to be happening here, because I think it's going to be there's going to be a good opportunity for us to see something interesting coming out of this. So hopefully we have something really good that will come out of it in terms of treating the fans with some interesting stuff. I know I was really interested with some of the merch that they have. So there's some good stuff that's coming out, and we'll leave that for the fans and maybe even discuss that post a live stream from SDCC. So Trez.
One more minute.
One more minute. Okay, so do you guys just want me to just stay quiet and just let the feed happen?
Nonsense. Dead air.
Dead air? Yeah, we don't want dead air.
We don't want dead air.
You want to mute everybody?
No. I want people to talk. I don't want people to, because we're pretty polite, and we'll let the video flow, and we'll keep things react to it. Like, if they say something like, "Oh, the green live action movie is green lit," I think everyone's just gonna go, "Yeah!" Like that kind of excitement. That's gonna be good. That's what we want, right? So, if there's some good...
I keep replaying the link, but nothing's coming out. So
yeah, well, they could be, and that may not be exactly 5 o'clock. 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. It may not be exactly 2 p.m. It might be, a few minutes here or there, right? So it's not exactly.
Yeah. It keeps coming up that it's a private.
There it is. It's coming up.
What is it?
Let's see what I got here.
The YouTube hamsters have to go press a button. It takes time.
Yeah. The video's wrapped up.
There you go.
Hello there. My name is Steve Yoon. I'm the Vice President of New Media at Harmony Gold. Welcome to the Robotech 35th Anniversary panel. We're sorry we can't be with you in person, but thanks to San Diego Comic-Con at home and this virtual panel, we hope that at least we can bring a little bit of fun into your day. And we hope you enjoy.
All right. Hello, my name is Kevin McKeever. I'm Vice President of Marketing here at Harmony Gold for the Robotech franchise. Let's begin with Robotech on streaming platforms. We would like to thank our friends at FilmRise for getting us on Pluto TV. Our friends at Pluto TV are going to have a Robotech streaming marathon with special bonus material not seen in this panel. Tune in to Pluto.tv for more information. It is also streaming on Redbox. Robotech is also available on Amazon Prime, along with the 3 original series, Macross, Southern Cross, and Mospeada. With Robotech on streaming platforms, let's move on to tabletop games and our friends at Strange Machine Games. Strange Machine Games has launched a new line of tabletop games with Robotech Ace Pilot, Robotech Attack on the SDF-1, and 2 new games, Robotech Brace for Impact and Robotech Cyclone Run. And for fans of the Robotech Masters era, our friends at Solar Flare Games have created a new game called Robotech Crisis Point. It is now shipping from Robotech.com. Solar Flare Games will be following this up with a new generation game arriving later this summer called Robotech Invid Invasion. And for fans of role-playing games, our friends at Strange Machine Games are launching a new line of RPGs, starting with the Macross Saga. Here is a look at the interior artwork. There is also a new line of miniatures from our licensed Kids Logic. These miniatures are in 285 scale and are now shipping. Here is a look at the Battloid, the Fighter, and the Guardian mode. And of course, we have the plushies from our awesome new license, Icon Heroes. We also have a plushie Skull Leader now available from Robotech.com. And speaking of figures, we have a new line of Robotech action figures from Toynami. Wave 1 features Rick, Max, Roy, Minmei, and Miria. These will be followed by Wave 2, featuring Ben, Claudia, Gloval, Rick, and Lisa. Toynami also has a line of retro 1/100 scale fully transformable VF1s, starting with the Hikaru VF1J, followed by the Skull Leader. These toys have exclusive retro packaging and will be shipping later this year. You can pre-order both of these at Robotech.com. And our friends at MEP Toys have created a fully posable Britai figure. It features interchangeable hands, has an ejection seat Rick Hunter figure, and is fully compatible with the 1/100 scale VF1s from Toynami. These are now shipping at Robotech.com. MEP Toys also has a line of Robotech Masters figures in development, and is creating a line of new generation Invid figures. While we are on the subject of figures, I would like to showcase what our friends over at Kids Concept are up to. Kids Concept has launched a new line of highly articulated figures, starting with a 6-inch posable Minmei. This was followed by a fully posable Rick Hunter figure. And both of these figures are now shipping at Robotech.com. These will be followed by a limited edition Minmei variant action figure that will be shipping later this year. And in the pipeline are a Lisa Hayes figure and a Roy Fokker. And for you fans of the Robotech Masters, Kit's Concept is also working on a Dana Sterling figure, currently in development. Kit's Concept also has a line of transforming toys, starting with the fully transformable 172 scale VF1S. This toy transforms into all three modes, has high die-cast metal content, and LED lighting. The Skull Leader will be followed by the fully transformable Rick Hunter VF1J. And over the past couple of years, the Robotech franchise has made a successful foray into the high-end statue market. Our friends at Prime One Studios have revealed a new 2.5-foot tall VF1J Battloid statue. You can order this now at PrimeOneStudios.com. And our friends at Icon Heroes have a new line of resin statues, starting with the VF1J, followed by the VF1S, and both will be shipping later this year. Icon Heroes is also releasing a Max Sterling statue at Fan Expo, along with a Stealth Veritech statue. These are both available at iconheroes.com. These will be followed by a Rick and Minmei statue designed by Lore Mesa, coming in late 2020. Icon Heroes also has a new line of collector's pins, starting with the VF Battloid series. These will arrive in late 2020. They will join our friends at Udon Studios with their line of collector's pins. And here's a special message from our friends at Udon Entertainment.
Hi, this is Eric Ko from Udon Entertainment. Great seeing everyone at the Robotech panel at Comic-Con. Growing up watching Robotech, I'm very happy to be able to work on all things related to Macross, Mospedia, and Southern Cross. You probably know Udon from the 2003 to 2005 Robotech Wildstorm comics. And lately, we have been very active with the brand doing more cool projects. Well, we published our first Robotech art book focusing on the Macross saga. And we are working on follow-up books right now with Robotech Masters and New Generations. Also, we're currently working on some really cool pins and merchandise for you guys. Now, we just released a set of Veritech fighter pins a few weeks ago. And right now, we are offering Ben Dixon and Jack Archer variants as our Comic-Con exclusive. Another cool Comic-Con exclusive would be this cute Minmei Doll Pin. And that comes with a backing card that resembles the old school Imai model kit. And I want to give you the first look at our most ambitious pin project to date, our oversized jumbo Robotech character pin action series. These pins are going to be 5.5 inches to 6 inches tall, so that we can capture every detail of our beloved characters. Each pin will also feature multiple screening, printing, like a screen printing process to enhance the detail of the character art. Well, the first 4 in the series will include Rick Hunter, Roy Fokker, Lisa Hayes, and Lin Minmei. These pins will be packaged in a specially made backing card that resembles the vintage Robotech action figures from the 80s, with new artwork created based on the design sheets from the series. We even recreated the character bio card at the back. So all these cool pins are going to be available at www.udonpins.com. So be sure to check them out. And we're going to have more new exciting Robotech stuff coming. So stay tuned and remember to follow us on our social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for Udon Entertainment. And, to stay so that you can stay up to date on the latest news. All right, so take care and hope everyone had a great time at Comic-Con at Home 2020. Stay safe, stay healthy. Goodbye.
Hello, I'm Tommy Yoon, and thank you for joining us, especially under these unusual social distancing conditions. Fans have asked us how New Robotech Comics and their schedule have been doing with all the disruption that has been occurring in the industry. Titan Comics has made a really difficult decision to push back the publication of New Robotech Comics, most likely until next year. And this is because of the tough conditions that comics retailers are facing right now. That said, Titan has been working hard to make back issues of Robotech available online through Comixology, and so you can get the Titan Robotech comics all the way up to the most recent miniseries, Robotech Remix, available online, and fans have really enjoyed those, and writer Brendan Fletcher has been especially heartened by how fans have embraced his storytelling, so he looks forward to working on new comics as soon as possible. Comixology has also been distributing classic Robotech comics as well, all the way back to the Comico era. And so Comixology has been working on getting classic Robotech comics all the way back to the Comico era available online for fans. And so we hope that will tide over fans until the unusual conditions right now start to wind down. So until then, we thank all the fans for sticking with us, and once again, thank you very much.
Our friends at Kids Logic will be releasing a 1/12 scale VF1 cockpit diorama. The cockpit diorama contains LED lighting and is compatible with the Kids Concept 6-inch scale figures. Kids Logic also has a 3-foot tall SDF1. When it made its debut in Hong Kong a couple years ago, it created quite a stir. It is a unique work of art. It stands over 3 feet tall, has LED lighting, and will be shipping later this year. You can order this item right now via the Kids Logic website. And our friends at Caliber Wings have launched a new line of 1/72 scale die-cast metal models, starting with a Robotech F-14 Tomcat officially licensed from Northrop Grumman. The Skull Leader is backed up by the Max and Miria F-14s. Caliber Wings has followed up with a new line of die-cast model VF-1s, starting with the Skull Leader and followed by the new Maximiria VF1Js. All of these are now shipping at Robotech.com. And now I want to move into a brief update on the Robotech live-action film set up over at Sony. We have 2 amazing producers, Mark Canton and Gianni Nunari. They have a long and successful track record in Hollywood. We also have Jason Fuchs attached as the writer. But we want to take a moment to explore the relationship between Sony Pictures and Harmony Gold moving forward. When Harmony Gold signed the contract with Sony, the entire Robotech team celebrated. After the celebration, we had to move on to the next phase. And that next phase was answering a large amount of questions Sony had about Robotech. See, these questions all began back in the spring of 2015, when the deal was first announced. Numerous Sony executives began to bombard Harmony Gold with questions about the franchise. To answer these questions, and to help get everyone on the same page, Sony invited Harmony Gold to their studios in Culver City in November 2016 to brief their senior management about Robotech. Sony Pictures granted Harmony Gold clearance to create and license new animated Robotech merchandise. And while this arrangement has been extremely productive for both Sony and Harmony Gold, we are exploring expanding our partnership for the Robotech franchise. Late last year, this expansion was revealed when it was announced that Funimation has joined the Robotech family. Robotech the series, Robotech the Shadow Chronicles, and Robotech the Sentinels have joined the Funimation catalog. The titles are part of an expansive agreement that includes all rights to the franchise, including home entertainment and merchandising opportunities. Colin Decker, general manager of Funimation, had this to say, quote, Robotech is a beloved and foundational series for fans around the world. We are so proud and excited to connect to this iconic series with millions more fans through Funimation.
And that's it for Robotech's 35th anniversary panel at San Diego Comic-Con at home. 35 years. We want to say it's only been possible because of you, our fans. So we appreciate you, and we hope to see you guys next year.
Okay, guys, there's still some more left. I see an additional... Okay. We'll wait and see.
I'm turning down the TV now. I'm turning up. I was watching on TV.
Okay.
So
yeah, that seems to be it then.
Watch it, right?
Okay.
Everybody's back?
Alrighty. Do you want me to go back to full screen then?
Yeah, go back to full screen. We're done with
Okay. Okay.
Hey, Trev and Trez.
Yes, sir.
And Brian.
What's
Answer?
up? What's up?
All right. Your thoughts, man. Your thoughts. My live action thoughts is no director. No director. That just tells me there's not going to be nothing.
I don't know if you want to. I don't know if you want to hear what I have to say.
No. This is a fandom podcast. It's not affiliated with Harmony Gold or anyone else. So just go ahead.
I know.
Just go ahead.
I know.
Go ahead, Brian. Give them both barrels all back clean up.
All right.
This is a fandom podcast. This is how fandoms out there feel. This is how fans walk out. Yeah, they fill up the panels, San Diego Comic-Con Anime Expo, to hear this exclusive news of something's coming out, but everybody walks out angry. They walk out, all right, yeah, cool, whatever, same old thing, blah, blah. Luckily, it was at the end of the day, so nothing to worry about.
Dexter, get on here. I see
year.
Dexter on YouTube. So Dexter, get in here.
Oh, you gotta send them. You wanna send them the phone number? I mean, the number.
Yeah, I can post it.
Dexter, ask Dexter. I'll give him the number. But does he have Zoom?
He has to have Zoom. Or
Zoom,
there's actually the number is actually in the screen. If you look at the very top, there's meeting ID right there.
Yeah, go on top, Zex, and then you'll see everything that you need.
Yeah, so
all right.
You can actually call in. You can actually call in. So if you want to call in and use a local number, you could go ahead and that'll protect your anonymity as well. So
no, you're looking in the wrong spot, Dex. Go up top. You see those little streams up top?
The yellow
one's
one.
Yellow and one's in white.
The
you want
ticker
the stuff
tape.
that's in yellow. The ticker tape up top. Yes. Yes.
So they have different regional phone numbers that you could call in the States or in Australia or wherever, and you could call us the show live.
Yes. See. All right. So you ready? Because if you know,
Let it out, man. Let it out. Because I'm still trying to hold it down.
See, Lancer can do a rant.
You could go ahead, Lancer. Just do it.
I
just want to know what you feel, how you feel. Just go ahead.
First off, it's really cool that we're seeing the 172 transformable mecha. That's pretty cool. I'm still surprised that we haven't seen anything of. It's good that we're seeing some Southern Cross stuff. I still would love to see a hover tank though, because we haven't seen a transformable, or I should say, a good transformable hover tank. as of yet. And we still haven't seen a version of the Ajax chopper as of yet. At least anything that's good. That's at the same quality of the Masterpiece collection or better. I like the Caliber Wings additions. That's always nice to see. So that's cool. But you always have to have a compliment sandwich. So here's the middle. Where is my live action news? I want my director. I want to know a green lit. I want to know everything's going full steam ahead. Now, granted, I realize that we don't have much going on in Hollywood today because of all of this nonsense that's going on in the world. I know we cannot say things on YouTube because of certain things, but we are all sequestered. There, that's a good word. But dag it nab, since we've heard about the live action back in 2009 when this first busted out, the only things that we've heard is, all right, first it's Warner Brothers. Yeah! And okay, no longer Warner Brothers. It's supposed to be where's the director? Is it Tobey Maguire? Is he gonna be doing and whatever and all that nonsense? Then we lost Warner Brothers and now we have Sony. Dax!
Hey, he has feedback. He has his audio on for it. He needs to shut down the audio over there.
So now that we have
what? All
right, there we go. You had your background coming on the video.
What?
What's up, Dad?
You had your video coming out.
Yeah, it's because I'm watching the Padres.
It's all about priorities, right, Dex?
Yeah. Hold on.
Come on, man. Bring down that porn. Net off.
Okay, so let me know when you want me to chime in.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, it's been almost 10 years now. It's been over 10 years since this announcement and everyone being hyped up about the live action movie. And the most that we've had is now that Sony's taken over and we have a good script writer in Fuchs, but no director, no major producer, and nothing saying that it's greenlit to start pre-production. So, and as someone said in the chat,
we're back
Shadow Rising.
to square one with that director. Yeah.
Yeah. So and no Shadow Rising. So,
Okay.
So just a little bit miffed on that. Missed opportunity.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and chime in now because of the people that are connected with Robotech. Number one, I've been connected the longest because I actually work with Carl Masick, and I'm the original and only Robotech intern. And number two, I went to film school, and so I learned a lot from my time working at Harmony Gold as well as being in film school, and with regards to the business end. I have to preface that because I don't know how many people are viewing this who don't know who I am. But I'm just going to give a very, very brief 15-second biography.
Who are you?
I produced a documentary back in 1985 called Robotech: The Inside Story. It is the only known document at Harmony Gold now that has any kind of footage of the production of from what originally broadcast in the mid-'80s. From there, when I left San Diego to go to school in LA, I applied to be an intern at Harmony Gold because of my love for Robotech. Carl Masick brought me on. 3 weeks later, he left to move on to other projects because by the time I got there, Robotech pretty much was on the back end of being broadcast. It was like they were losing stations because it had been 3 years. And I took basically Alan Lutz, who was vice president of Harmony Gold at the time, was looking for somebody to basically fill Carl's spot and also to answer the literally tons and tons of fan mail that they were getting from all over the world about Robotech. So my job was to not only answer the mail, but also to quality control all of the different versions of Robotech, whether it be in Aramaic, French, German, any other language, just to make sure that the dubs were in sync with, like how the English version was close to matching. And then I would box them up and ship them out to whatever broadcast company was going to air Robotech in whatever part of the world. So that's my background. Basically, for lack of a description, I had Tommy Yoon's job before it was Tommy Yoon's job, and it was fun, but I was a little too efficient because I fulfilled all my responsibilities within a year, and by that time, it was Robotech was pretty much done in the U.S. So, they didn't really have need for me to be there. So, no harm, no foul. I fulfilled my end of my bargain, my end of the contract, and they fulfilled theirs. Now, with regards to everything that we just learned in the 12.5-minute quote unquote panel,
that's how long it was?
Yeah, it was pretty short.
It wasn't that long.
Yeah.
The translation people, he knows his shit.
Yeah. The deal is the panels are usually longer because of the Q&A. Because they're giving out prizes and people line up and they ask questions. That's why the panel is usually what they call stuffed. They present. If you ever time it, watch Memo's old footage. If you time it without the interruptions, it's usually about 15, 20 minutes tops, and then the rest is filler with Q&A, people asking different questions like, can I have Minmei's phone number and stuff like that. So, it's the fact that it was just information and they went at a very rapid pace, it doesn't surprise me. I was surprised that McKeever was in high game show host form in this version. I thought he was going to be sitting behind a desk looking like a TV news anchor, but Kevin is Kevin. The thing about directors. When it was at Warner Brothers under Tobey Maguire's reign, it was basically bought to prevent the property, because remember, Transformers was bought around the same time, and Voltron was being shopped at the same time also. So Warner's wanted to have their own giant robot project, and so they basically used it to kind of set up a template for their version. And lo and behold, 10, 15 years later, boom, Pacific Rim, when Legendary was set up at Warner Brothers. Legendary has since left Warner Brothers and gone to Universal, so to set up the MonsterVerse. So now, when Sony picked up the property, they moved really quick. There were no producers. If you look at what's happened at Sony, the producers have been consistent. The same two guys have been the producers. We're on the third or fourth screenwriter, but he's been the same screenwriter for 3 years. It's just been rotating the rotating revolving door with the directors, and there's a reason for that. As soon as a director becomes a name, or they have a short attention span. If they see something they want to do, they'll use that. Like, I have a feeling that Andy Muschietti really didn't want to do Robotech. Because, if you look at what he was doing, he was leveraging. And he used Robotech to leverage for his other projects, besides It. Because It was a horror movie, and, he didn't want to be known as a one-trick pony. So he latches onto this robot sci-fi franchise, and everybody's like, oh, okay, he can do more. And that's why I'm guessing Warner's DC picked him up to do The Flash. So... And the Flash movies has a boatload of problems right now, too. So, otherwise, why would they have had Ezra Miller Flash in Crisis on Infinite Earths with Grant Gustin Flash? If they weren't having problems, they wouldn't have done that. Even as a great little fan service, Easter egg, they wouldn't have done that. So the rotating directors do not surprise me. What surprises me is the fact that they actually have finally decided to go radio silent on the director. There are a lot of candidates that are out there. I mean, Memo, I think, posted something about Michael Bay. But I don't think Michael Bay's going to sniff Robotech, only because he's already done his robot franchise.
I wouldn't
James
want to
Wan.
anyway.
Well, Michael Bay has gone on record saying that he wishes he could do a Top Gun. And I think that Robotech would be his Top Gun. Because, you know, Rick Hunter is like Maverick. You know, Roy Fokker is like Goose, you know, and like that, or like Goose and Viper. So
you shut your whore mouth right there. He's like Viper. He's not like Goose.
Well, regardless.
And there will be too many.
I cannot believe you just said that.
There will be too much explosions.
Well, no, he's like, if you know, without spoiling it, Fokker is like Goose if you've seen Top Gun. But anyways, regardless, the idea is that Michael Bay's always wanted to do a hardcore military drama, and Robotech could be his in. Whether he does it or not, I don't think so, because he's already done his robot franchise with Transformers, and on top of that, he's the executive producer for all future Transformers movies, unless he decides to step down. And as we all know, Transformers and Robotech have had some issues between them. Let's just say. So that's not going to happen. Michael Bay's not going to do Robotech, only because he's so embedded with the Hasbro verse and with Transformers. The big rumor that was last year was James Wan walked away from Aquaman 2 because he wanted to produce and write The Trench, those creatures from the deep part of the ocean that kidnapped Aquaman's mom, and it was more like his wheelhouse because it's horror and that genre. But he might be available. The other rumor that I heard, but this is not going to happen only because there's only like after this movie there's only one or two left, is Justin Lim, who's directing back to directing Fast and Furious. He's probably not going to be available until at least 2025. So he's not going to have any connection to Robotech unless he decides to walk away from Vin Diesel and the guaranteed ATM, money making franchise. So, the idea of there's no director is not a big deal. The big deal is the fact that Harmony Gold finally, after, for the first time since they linked up with Sony on this project, has said nothing about a director. They purposefully just kind of, they mentioned Fuchs, they mentioned Candon and Noonery, and that was it. So I think that they're finally realizing, hey, you know what? Until we have a guy signed, like locked in, that he's going to stay with this and he's committed legally on a contract that he cannot go find another project or whatever, and lock him or her down, I don't think that they're going to make an announcement on director. Personally, I think that they're looking at as many people as possible, regardless of track record, because I think they're looking at how Marvel's doing things, and Marvel's basically what they're doing is, they're trusting their blockbuster franchise films to people who have a track record of being able to get stuff done on time and on budget, and I think that's what they're going to be doing with regards to Robotech. So I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't play anything about that, because it in Hollywood it's meaningless. It's just it's just more fodder. I was always frustrated over the fact that they just kept saying stuff. I mean, if the director was locked in, they would have had him at this panel, and they would have said, and we're going to hear from Bob the director, and Bob the director would have had a little 30-second thing, like how remember in past panels they had Johnny Noonery and Mark Canton on video on the big screen in the presentation, and they're all saying, and they quoted Carl, the best and all that. Yeah, but they're locked in, right? They haven't changed. Whereas like when it was at Warner's, we never saw Tobey Maguire. We never saw Leonardo DiCaprio. All we saw were their names. You know, we never saw them on screen saying, "Hey, we're glad to be doing Robotech," like these guys are. So again, I think that they're gonna, I think they're gonna wait. 2021 is gonna be very, very interesting, and I think that's where they're at, because I mean, there hasn't been a Transformers movie in 2.5, 3 years, and yeah. So I mean, and there has Pac Rim hasn't been out. There's only the last Pac Rim movie was 2 years ago. So I think they're waiting for the genre to kind of get back down to a nice simmer, so that when they go, okay, Robotech, boom, it just goes. With regards to the animation, yeah.
Quick question. I got two questions for you. First one, I can't remember who the director for Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 1984 is.
Patty Jenkins.
Thank you. Would you like to see possibly Jenkins taking over for the Robotech franchise?
Personally, I think that of all the different candidates that they've had, James Wan was probably the best, only because I have a feeling that they're not going to produce the movie in Hollywood. They're probably going to go to either Australia or like Hong Kong. And because James Wan has worked in both territories, he knows like all the ins and outs of how to get things done outside the Hollywood studio structure. I think that he would have been the best choice insofar as what they've had so far. Insofar as like, who they get, as long as they don't get Kevin Smith, I'm happy, because and here's the reason why. Kevin Smith is too much a fan. Kevin Smith had been linked to Superman, remember? Back in the early 90s. He was linked to Green Arrow movie, not TV series, movie. He was linked to Flash at one point. He was linked to a lot of big budget movies. But he's too much of a fan. I mean, if you watched what he's done on TV, like on The Flash and on Supergirl, you can tell that he fanboyed out when he shot those shows. And as a person who's, watches those shows, it's fun. But as a person who's like, say, a casual fan, like the majority of people are going to be coming into this, we don't want to alienate them. We want this to be where it's like that happy medium of the hardcore fans and the casual fans together, like like Star Wars. You got the hardcore fan group, but then you got the people who come in to watch Star Wars because it's Star Wars, and the people who are nitpicking and, going through all the stuff right now, with Star Wars right now, those are the hardcore fans.
So here's my second question.
Yeah.
We've talked about this a little bit here on the podcast. I don't know if
yes, we have.
But my second question is a hard reboot, a hard animated reboot, similar to what they did with Voltron.
For Robotech?
Yes. Do you know, in your infinite wisdom, if Sony would be up for it, or do you think that would detract from the movie and what they want to do with that? Because then the reboot might be, I don't know, parallel to the movie, or would they be on board for Harmony Gold to just say, we're going to do a hard reboot reimagining of Robotech?
Okay, well,
the only way you see, let me jump in on this one, because the only way you see a reboot happening is losing the license. As long as they have the license with Tatsunoko, they're not gonna step on that licensing. They're not gonna try to reboot everything with the licensing with Big West and Tatsunoko. So that's what Academy is. Academy is a continuation from all that. So we could see a continuation, a reboot.
Let me jump in on that. Something interesting that he brought up was about companies in Hollywood going radio silent on subjects. And it's not escaped my notice that not only are they radio silent on the director, they've also gone radio silent on their relationship with New Eye and Big West. All at about the same time, New Eye and Big West have been going around internationally trying to recover the Macross trademark from Harmony Gold. Harmony Gold has the international trademark in lots of countries, and Big West has been successfully challenging that in multiple countries. They did it in China, they did it in the UK, in Europe, and Australia, and a bunch of places, and they won each time. It's not really a big deal for Harmony Gold because they sell Robotech. They consider Robotech to be an entirely separate franchise, and from what I understand, New Way Big West also considers it to be an entirely separate franchise. So it was interesting to me how, Kev at these panels, he has his, legal approved answer to these questions, right? When are we going to get more Macross over here? And not too long ago, that legally approved answer changed to be more, no comment instead of, before they had always said we are open to working with, New Way and Big West to make things happen. So
Right.
it strikes me interesting that they've gone radio silent on that aspect at about the same time that New Way Big West started going around challenging all of these. So that seems to be another big thing that we're going to see in 2021 is we'll probably see the dam break, maybe not in 2021, but soon on all of the held up Macross properties coming over international.
Okay, well here's the circumstances on that. As of right now, the relationship that HG has with the mothership, which is Tatsunoko, and also with the Kawamori, who's basically like the George Lucas or the Gene Roddenberry, if you guys are fanboys and know who they are, of the Macross franchise, amongst other things. They have a really good working relationship. So for right now, all that other stuff is kind of everybody right now, they're all sharing their toys amongst each other, and they're playing nicely for now. So no one has said, give me back my ball, give me back my toys yet. So as of right now, I think that's that. Now, with regards to what McKeever's been talking about, I think the reason being is because, and this is how I take it, based on what my experiences and what I've learned, is that they're close to pre-pro. They're close to pre-production. And I think the reason why, I think that's part of the reason why also with the radio silence is because they do not want to shoot themselves in the foot. Again. They want to make sure that they have all their ducks in a row and nailed down so that everything is like waterproof, that there are no leaks, there are no errors, there's nothing that anybody can come in there and start sticking their finger in there and, goofing things up. Because before he said, yeah, I remember that, every other panel, recently the panels or his responses have been no comment because they're that close. How close is that close? I don't know. But usually, that I take it as like, the big guns at HG and Sony are really, really close to hammering out a deal to get everything lined up. Like as if you've noticed, they've never once mentioned numbers like what the budget's going to be. Okay, this is Hollywood speak. As soon as they say, XYZ robot movie is going to be a $500 million production, boom, they're rocking. They're gonna. They already have the director. They already have this. They already have their screenplay ready to go. They already have their actors cast. They're flying. They already got their effects people. But if you've noticed, no numbers have been thrown out from the word go. And the reason being is because they're still lining up their ducks. And I think that they're doing something. I don't know if you guys remember this or not. And I talked to Tommy a lot about this, and Steve Yoon, and also Memo a little bit. But about 5 years ago, before DreamWorks entered the picture for Voltron, there were a series of 3 or 4 images of a quote-unquote pre-production images of a Voltron live-action movie that were done in CG. And they showed the lions. And they were nothing like the lions from the animated series, where in the animated series, remember, they were more kind of sharp edges and squarish. These robots looked more like the animals. They were rounded. They had more of a slight musculature, much more like how they look in the animated series now. And then within about 2 weeks, they yanked all those images. World Events, who owns the rights to Voltron, they yanked all the images immediately. And they did this right when Robotech announced that they were working with Sony. I think the reason why they did that was they're trying to draw attention to Voltron and say, hey, look, we're over here, guys. We came out, 6 months before Robotech. We're the quote unquote original mecha anime in the United States. And then, 2 2 years, 3 years later, they announced their deal with Netflix and DreamWorks, and they did Voltron: Legendary Defender. I think something similar is happening with Robotech. I think that but they learned their lesson from the whole Voltron fiasco. They're pulling back. They're focusing on what they have in front of them. Now, to continue to answer the other question that Lancer brought up, I think it's this. With regards to a reboot, okay, I don't think Sony's opposed to anything right now because, number one, they obviously have a knowledge of all things Macross, with, all the other stuff with Plus, Zero, Frontier, Delta, 2, 7, all that. So they're very well aware of that. And they also are well aware of the fact that those are not Robotech, they're Macross. Now, a reboot, I think they're not opposed to because the Titan comics were basically a soft reboot. If you read the comics, the original series that Brian Woods and then Simon Furman, did, and also what Brandon's doing with Remix, it's a soft reboot. They're tweaking things around, right, and all that. I mean,
history.
Yeah, much like the difference between Shatner's Star Trek and J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, they're the same but different. And I think that yeah, but Sony, Sony is aware of it, and that's why they allowed that. If they weren't willing to kind of bend, kind of stir things up a little bit, I don't think they would have let them do that. I think they would have just said, look, you guys, no new comics, or if you're going to do it, it's got to be set within continuity, and just go ahead and keep pushing out the reprints, and the collections and all that. But we don't want any new stories conflicting with what we're working on in the movies, because I honestly believe, and I remember talking on the night, remember Memo? We went, a bunch of us after the panel went out to dinner with the original screenwriter, the first screenwriter, Michael, and he was talking about the vision of the producers, Noonery and Canton, were a trilogy of trilogies. So Macross is going to be its own trilogy, Southern Cross is going to be its own trilogy, New Generation is going to be its own trilogy, and then if they go beyond that, then they're going to do the Shadow trilogy and so on and so forth. And then the way that they described it was, if they're going to do, if they want to put in like, not filler, but like new stories set within that continuity, they would have done that. And I have a funny feeling that somebody at Lucasfilm heard that, and that's why you had like Solo and Rogue One and that kind of thing that filled in gaps. So I'm guessing that that's still the plan, but I don't know how they're going to go about doing it. One of the things that I remember I had, and this is public knowledge, this is not a big deal, having with one of the guys from HG at our Robotech booth, I don't remember if it was at WonderCon or SDCC, or it might have even been in Imperial Valley. I don't know. We're just kind of shooting the breeze and hanging out. But one of the things that was said was, the big problem that we're going to have is this. And you saw me make that reference during the panel when I typed in. Robotech starts in 1999. Macross starts in 1999. And I wasn't just referring to the Prince song, but that's literally when it started. If they're going to do a live-action Robotech movie and start it and follow continuity, it would have to start in 1999, and it would be too retro. It just would be too retro. And they would be handcuffing themselves to what they could possibly do. So they're going to be tweakages. They're basically going to do like what Max Headroom did in the 80s, which is quote unquote 20 minutes in the future. They're not going to set a time as to when this movie's going to start, like an actual time. They're going to probably say the near future or something to that effect. And, they might use more modern technology insofar as like the fighter craft, or they might not. I presented an idea to the original screenwriter with regards to being able to keep the Veritechs looking like F-14s by having them, and it was inspired by one of the Robotech episodes, the one A Rainy Night, when there was a scene with Claudia and Roy was talking about how the robot technology gets in your blood, and he was looking at the his prototype fighter and how it was, it was transforming with Guardian mode. And I was thinking, okay, but how did they get to that point? Macross Zero actually did it, and I don't think that there's going to be an issue with that because the military does this all the time when they upgrade their aircraft. They'll take because there's a bunch of different military obsolete military equipment that's out in the deserts in New Mexico, Arizona,
the boneyard.
Yeah, and they basically, when they need another plane or something, they'll go over there, bring it out of retirement, fix it all up, like how we do a classic car, and then they put it into service temporarily. I think that what they would do is figure out a way to reverse engineer an old fighter craft, whether it be an F-14 or an F-15 or F-16 or whatever it is, and they'll use that into continuity until they're ready to introduce the quote-unquote super Veritech with the more modern look. So, I mean, there are ways. Yeah, well,
BSG.
There's ways. Yeah, there's the Ronald Moore BSG.
Yes.
Which we won't get into that can of worms, but the idea is, Harmony Gold and Sony and the people involved in the creative end, they know what they're doing. They're letting the bean counters and the lawyers basically, the suits basically handle the business end. And I think that with regard, like I said, with the reboot, that's not going to be an issue. I think that there's going to have to be some tweakages to the story in order to fit that. I mean, if you look at the comics, Minmei isn't a 14, 15-year-old giddy teenage airhead. If you look at the comics, she's like, it's very much like Do You Remember Love, where she's already established herself as a person. She's not in high school or whatever. She's a young adult. And she's got her head screwed on straight. Her priorities are jacked up, but she's got her head screwed on straight. And so, that's a big change with regards to Robotech for here in the U.S. in the English-speaking world. That in Japan they have been, it's been canon over there for decades. It's the first time here that we're not using the quote-unquote Reba West version of Minmei. Rather, it's more of a mature, modern take, and I think that's one thing. And they did other things that were really cool in the comics with regards to how protoculture affects everything. And I thought, I think that there are elements that they're probably going to take from the comics and they'll use it. But I don't know. I do know that they're going to modernize it. I have confidence as a fan who's been there from almost the beginning. That it's in good hands. I don't think Tommy would let them muff things up. I think Tommy's smart enough to know, hey, I know where my bread is buttered, and I'm not going to sell out. I'm going to be the keeper of Carl's flame and make sure that this is done right. Also, in many conversations with Carl was handcuffed to the animation that was already produced. He didn't have a choice but to use what was there and basically reverse engineer everything, because Carl's vision was with Sentinels was to move forward, and he was going to, within Sentinels, he was going to do flashbacks, and he was going to change some things within the continuity, but not major things, but certain elements. And he never got to do that because Sentinels was canceled. And it was never covered in the novels because they were working off of very, very loose outlines for each of his chapters for Sentinels. Everything was in Carl's head. So, if they're going to be those fans who think that they know better, like all the Star Wars fans who go, this is not how George would do it. They're going to be Robotech fans who are going to say, this is not how Carl would do it. Tommy would know. Because we both knew Carl.
Was that the signal to move on?
Yeah, exactly. Memo and I had this conversation on a regular basis at the booth every year, whatever shows we're doing together. We get that, and it's hilarious because as soon as I say I work for Carl, people shut up. They stop spewing. They start going, well, the guy, the Robotech guy who created Robotech, and then I'm going, I work for him, and they're like, oh.
Hey, Alexa, you're going around in circles, so let's find out from Trez what he thinks about this whole panel thing. Trez, what you got? I know Lancer gave his 2 cents. I gave my 2 cents.
I was going to jump on another thing that he just talked about, which was companies, while we're speculating, companies kind of putting together similar deals, copying each other, or to borrow a George Lucasism, they rhyme.
Yeah.
To put it kindly.
Yeah.
I think that one of the most interesting deals in the anime space recently was when Right Stuff and Nozomi locked up the exclusive rights to Gundam in the U.S. and how they're re-releasing and dubbing all of the Gundam shows. I'm wondering, speculating if something similar is coming down the pipe with Funimation. Sony actually owns several animation studios. They own Aniplex, they have Sony Television International, and they have Funimation. Recently, Funimation has begun dubbing Aniplex titles. Aniplex is infamous for releasing amazing shows with no dubs and driving their fans up a wall and clawing their faces because, like, hey, this is a great show. It would sell like gangbusters if it was dubbed. Why don't you do that? Well, they just announced and just put out the first episode of a new show, Kaguya-sama Love is War, with an English dub on Funimation.com. So I'm wondering if maybe Sony's trying to get while they're getting all their ducks in a row, if they're going to spin up the deal with Big West New Way and pipeline it all through Funimation, just like Nozomi Right Stuff managed to do with Bandai. Originally, I know this is something that I overheard Tommy talking about with Carl, that they had a deal put together with Bandai to bring over Macross Frontier that fell through because of interference from the studios that shall not be named. Well, so I'm just wondering if while we're speculating, maybe that's something that they're looking at doing, because it's all conspicuous that it's happening kind of in the same time frame.
Well, if you noticed when McKeever was talking about Funimation, he brought up that it was their deal was basically like it was with ADV, that it's covering all of the materials that were in Robotech, Macross, Southern Cross, and Mospeada. And he named them individually, separately, as well as Macross Saga, Masters and New Generation, right? You noticed that. He did
Shadow
that.
Chronicles, yeah.
And Shadow Chronicles, yeah. Because Shadow Chronicles
and Sentinels, oddly enough.
Yeah, because Sentinels and Shadow Chronicles are basically, those are wholly and exclusively HG. That's theirs. If you've noticed, he didn't say anything about the movie, about Untold Story.
He didn't say anything about Love Live Alive either.
Yes, and okay, Love Live Alive is basically an interesting set of circumstances because they work with Funimation. They work with Funimation on that, even though it was released by Lionsgate. I think they did work with Funimation on that, and so I honestly believe that they're basically their deal with Funimation is the same deal that they had with ADV, and I think that they're just basically I think with Love Live Alive and with and now with the movie, because Robotech the movie used Megazone 2-3 Part 1, I think that they're going to use Funimation as basically their guy to go back to the Japanese studios and iron out all those, iron everything out and go, okay.
I'm going to throw the wrench on your thinking, Dexter. This is the wrench on your thinking, which Mike kind of said earlier. They're regaining the control of the Macross license. Why would they want to work with the U.S. when they're getting it left and right? You know what I mean? They're getting the license in Australia. They're getting the license in Europe under United Nations. I mean, they're getting their licenses right. They don't need Harmony Gold. They're pretty soon they need Harmony Gold. Why do they want to make a deal with Harmony Gold? I don't see them working with the original license holder of Japan.
Bear in mind that STF Macross is going public domain in a few years, so it could be a combination of Harmony Gold doesn't see the juice is worth the squeeze to go through a legal battle over something that they're going to be able to get in a few years anyway. By the time they get it out in court, it's going to be public domain and a non-issue.
I think this is the other thing that we get at the booth all the time, which is there are people who are highly aware of Do You Remember Love, and they call that the Robotech movie. They confuse Memo. They confuse it with not realizing that as McKeever is always so fond of saying, it's a separate entity unto itself, yada, yada, yada. I honestly believe that, again, it's the whole idea of, everybody wanting to share toys, and they all want to play, they all want to play well together so that they don't lose money in a big, gnarly, heated legal battle. I mean, I'll use the example of Yamato, Space Battleship Yamato in Japan. There was a 20-year legal battle between all these different parties, from from the artist to the writer to the guy who composed the music. I mean, everything, all aspects of Yamato. And there was this gnarly 20-year battle in the courts in Japan about who had what and who did what and who owns this. And Voyager Entertainment, who had the quote unquote international rights, the guys did, but they changed everything to Star Blazers, but they own the visuals, essentially. They have the rights to the visuals. So they got sucked into it too. Everybody involved lost a crap load of money because of legal fees, paying lawyers, paying the courts, paying all that money to get that all ironed out and hammered out. And I think that what the big parties now and how they're doing it, with Tatsunoko, with Big West, with Studio Nue, with Harmony Gold, with all these different entities who own different aspects of the animation or the show in general, the IP, the different aspects of the IP, the intellectual property. I think they're smart. They're being smart enough to go, hey, look, we could either kill each other in court and none of us gets anything, and then then an outside party just swoops in and buys it for a nickel. I mean, that's not what it's going to be, but for a song. Or we can play well together and we can share the pot. Sony's right now doing that, and they're well known for doing that because look at they're letting Spider-Man play around in the MCU. So Sony's already set this, created the template for that. So I'm guessing that this is, what they're doing is kind of doing a variation of the Spider-Man MCU thing with Robotech and with Macross. I think that they're basically going, you know what? It'll be a win-win. Yeah, it's gonna be a win-win.
I don't think they're gonna have nothing to do with that. It's a total reboot, so it won't be looking nothing much like Macross. You say Macross. I don't think it's gonna be much other than what Robotech is, but with a reboot on it. So it's gonna be a new brand under Sony.
Point about them, money makes people hold their nose, and yeah, Big West New are probably not going to want to work with Harmony Gold, which is why Sony's play is Funimation. And just like what happened with Gundam and Nozomi and Right Stuff, you've got this huge catalog, but you can't just dump it all on the market at the same time. You need to structure it. You need to space out releases. You need one company to manage all that. And that's why my speculation is that, they're straightening out all this stuff on the back end with the international rights, with the what's it called, the trademark. And once that all gets settled, then it's just, here's the fire hose, turn it on, and all that stuff comes through, But it seems like that's where all this is headed, and I don't think that they're going to have as big a problem working with Funimation as they would, the previous plan, which was everything would go through Harmony Gold. And you can't underestimate the new blood that's coming into these companies, big companies like Bandai. They want to make money, right?
Right.
And so there's a lot of upside pressure on the Japan side to get these shows like, Macross, like Do You Remember Love, like Macross Zero, like, Frontier, and the next horrible Macross sequel, to get them all over here and get them, making money, making merchandise.
Right. I think too, though, if you look at like how things are being done in Japan, even within the merchandising, Bandai has Do You Remember Love, but the manufacturer Yamato has 7. They had 7. They're doing the old school TV series. They're doing some of the other. I mean, there's so many different fingers in the big pie, that it's. I think that they're, in Japan, they're starting to understand that they have to kind of share in order to survive, especially given the economy as it is. I think the same thing is happening. And I think that the same thing is happening right now with regards to this. Now, Memo's right. Macross in Robotech, once the live action movie hits, it's just basically going to be a name. It's not going to visually. It's not going to. I mean, it's probably not going to be the same. But at the same time, they need to have everything lined up so that whoever has that particular possession of the IP is bulletproof. That some other outside party can't come in and go, yeah, my dad had a 2% interest in this, and then muck everything up. With regards to Funimation, this is not the first rodeo that they've had with Harmony Gold, and I think the reason why they're back is because, to be quite honest, Sony for sure, but I also believe because Lionsgate doesn't know how to treat anime. Robotech was their experiment. And, I was fortunate enough, like my documentary's in that box set, the Lionsgate box set. And I'm very, very grateful for that. But at the same token, it's like, they really, outside of that and Love Live Alive, which they released through A&E, they didn't really do a whole lot. You know what I mean? Whereas Funimation, they put it on their streaming service immediately. And they immediately started, doing stuff like, okay, we're doing this, we're getting ready to, join in on the merchandise parade and the whole nine. I think that, and again, they're owned by Sony, yeah, all right, but I think Funimation, and also Funimation has connections to, because they're based in Texas, they have connections to the Dallas and the Houston production studios for dubs. Whereas, basically they took over where ADV fell off, because ADV doesn't have.
We're looking at new animation. We're looking at new animation in control with Funimation. Funimation has nothing to do with the live action. We're looking at new animation, per se. Where the animation is produced, and Funimation will get all the voice actors. And you're right, it's going to be in Texas. That's what was my major worry, is because in California is where all the voice actors are, the original voice actors.
And that's going to be the rub.
Texas voice actors are non-union, I think.
Who else happens to be in Texas? Rooster Teeth.
Yeah, Rooster Teeth in Texas.
No, not for
that's
long.
right.
And they're doing they're not doing so well these days.
No, they're not. But Memo brings up a really good point. Most of the actors, the majority of the old Robotech actors, all do work for Bang Zoom in Burbank, Hollywood, and it's going to be very, very interesting because when ADV did the redub of the Macross series, the original Macross series, the uncut version, where they brought Mari Ajima in to be Minmei again. It was very, very interesting how they went about recasting, because that was the biggest controversy. People went, well, Fokker doesn't sound like Fokker. Rick Hunter doesn't sound like Rick Hunter, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, you know what? They're right. I mean, they purposefully, I think ADV purposefully wanted it to sound different because they wanted to go, this is Macross and not Robotech. But if they were to do, if they end up finally going, hey, we're gonna, before the live action movie comes out, we're gonna do a Robotech Blitz, and they're gonna announce a schedule of all this new stuff, whether it be like redubbed old anime, like Love Live Alive and all this other stuff, of Sentinels and of continuation of the Shadow series and the live the Robotech Untold Story, that stuff. It's gonna be very, very interesting how Funimation plays that. Because if they go with their local talent, that's gonna really alienate a lot of fans. But it's gonna cost them more money, even though. But here's the other thing, Memo. Sony Studios in Hollywood, so maybe they could
live action movie. The live action movie.
No. But as a corporate entity, it wouldn't be much for them to hire the original actors and directors to work on just that project at their post-production facilities. You know, they don't have to fly them out to Texas. They'll just do them there. You know what I mean? Because they do that. I mean, they do that. They do that all the time. I mean, it's like remember the Spanish dub for Robotech was done in Hollywood, the original dub, not the remix that was done by
where it goes, because if Funimation does a new animation, there's going to be a problem with just being Texas voice actors. And with all the fans that want to hear the original voice cast. So it's going to be very interesting to see where everybody falls.
Y'all are assuming that the next animated project is going to be some sort of reboot or side story, and I don't think that's how it's going to play out. They've always stated that their people who come to them interested in projects are always interested in something new. They never want to do the Sentinels. They're never going to want to do Academy because of the Kickstarter fiasco. They don't want to do the Shadow series because that's played out. So I don't think the voice acting thing is going to be as big of a problem. In Texas, you have Section 23 Films, which is what ADV became, and they have been going gangbusters on dubs. They've been taking shows that they released on disc with no dub, and then they re-released, as a complete collection with no dub, and they're actually going back and dubbing them now and releasing them in new collections as dubs. So people are like triple dipping on these shows just to get the dub. So clearly there's money there, and they're doing pretty well at it because they just keep announcing new show after new show.
There's also a very high demand for streaming services to have anime. Because I mean, look at Netflix. I mean, the majority and there's also a new stream, or not new, but another streaming service called Tubi. Tubi's taking all these like 3rd and 4th tier anime series that like you go, what the hell is this? And they're presenting them dubbed. And you go, why would they dub something that no one's ever heard of? I mean, it's not going to be long where I personally think that they're going to go back and grab the stuff from the 70s, like the Go Nagai giant robot stuff, and they're gonna tech it up and dub it here. Gundam, or not Gundam, Mazinga Z Infinity showed that there's a demand here for people who want to see that. So it's I mean, it's not as high a demand as say Attack on Titan, but
Here we go. The only demand I see is new stuff. Example, Voltron. Voltron came out with new stuff, and it brought a whole lot of new people into that new animation. What Harmony Gold is only moving around, and I seen where they moved around with all these companies is just a regular Robotech.
Right.
They moved around. What do you call it? Shadow Chronicles. Basically, it's the same thing. It's their numbers. If they just keep at it like that all the way around, it's not going to be much. You really need to really put the numbers in perspective on how big we could go. You just got to look at Voltron. With their new animation, their panel.
Yeah, but it's brand licensing. The thing about Voltron was it's very much in, like Lancer was talking about, and you guys are talking about Battlestar Galactica. Battlestar Galactica
brand licensing. You're looking at old Robotech versus new Voltron. That's all we had.
No. But this is what I'm talking about. With Voltron and with Battlestar Galactica. They already have both of those by name have huge fan bases from the past because they had been in reruns and they've been around for, depending on which franchise, 30 to 40 years. They have a history, and they also have multiple generations of fans because the parents, show them or talk about to their kids, so on and so forth, right? Whereas the reboots only have one generation of fans now. Okay, and their knowledge or their, what they know of the of Voltron or of Battlestar Galactica is the new stuff. They, and then when they go back to look at the old stuff, they go, man, that looks so ancient or ridiculous or goofy or silly or whatever, And I think that what Harmony Gold and what they're doing with Robotech is number one priority right now is let's get the current fan base on board with this, so that when
we've been on board since 2000 whatever with different companies. But I mean,
But see,
how many times we're gonna do this?
No, I think that they're doing this because they want to show Sony that they're trying to make a good faith effort and keeping the brand out there. You know, I mean, if they really were just gonna, you know, cater to like the old school fans, you know, like the original Shatner's Star Trek TV series, and not, you know, the Next Generation, Star Trek Next Generation, you know, I think that they wouldn't have let Titan do what they did with the comic book, you know.
But so, I think it had to be done.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It had to be done because it's like, yeah. I mean, in my review for the comic, this is not your daddy's Robotech, because it's not. You know, just like, you know, J.J. Abrams said, this ain't your daddy's Star Trek. I mean, it's the same names, you know, it's all that, but I mean, you know, he goes, but it ain't it's Star Trek. You got the Enterprise, but it's not the Enterprise, but it is. You know, that kind of thing. And I think the same, you know, I think he didn't want to make the same mistake. You know, and I think that Harmony Gold is learning from the J.J. Abrams Star Trek situation. They don't want to make the same mistake that Battlestar Galactica did. Was as soon as the new series came out, they immediately just obliterated all the old school fans and just said, you know what? You know, Ronald Moore basically gave him the big middle finger and said, this is my Battlestar Galactica. Your Battlestar Galactica.
You do know that Tommy Yoon went in front of everybody and said it's going to be a reboot.
Yeah, but he also but he's also shifted gears so many times, you know, in conversations that it's like it's really hard to tell what is truth and what is fiction from him.
He always said it's up to Sony. It's going to be up to Sony, and it's not going to be the same. So be prepared. Right. So basically, they're gonna do what everybody else are doing. They're going to do the same thing.
But is it going to? But see, the thing is, and it boils down to this: the word reboot is a double-edged sword. Is it going to be a hard reboot like Battlestar Galactica, or is it going to be a soft reboot like Star Trek? You know, because remember, they kept certain. You know, I mean, Battlestar Galactica, everything changed. I mean, Starbuck became a girl, right? Talk about your changes. Whereas, and everybody got a first name. The original Battlestar Galactica, nobody had their first name was just a one name. Right. Whereas, you know, with and Voltron, same thing. I mean, they introduced new characters into the mix, you know, with
the animation.
Yeah, and the animation, the
rebooted animation.
Yeah,
but it was a good reboot.
Yeah, in the DreamWorks, the leader wasn't Keith.
Yeah.
It was Shin. Was it Shin? I think his name was.
Shiro.
Yeah. The guy. Shiro. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because he was. Yeah, he was Black Lion, black uniform. So,
but I don't think they're gonna reboot.
But his name means white. How horrible is that?
Yeah, I know the irony of it all. No, but I understand. Yeah, that ended up being gay. Yeah, that was a nice curveball.
God.
I think that
is it not going to happen in the animation? Animation, they're not going to go back and reboot it. Right now, what Tommy has been saying is they're going to go full academy, and forward.
Well,
they're going to go full academy.
Again, I think, you know, Tommy.
He hasn't said anything of a new animation or rebooting animation. He said academy and going forward.
Right. But I think Tommy also has to toe the company line because he's a president of animation for Harmony Gold, and if he has even so much as one minor misstep, if he just has one toe over the line, he's done. And I think he's smart.
That's why he's gonna have to agree. I think Sony's in charge of. Once they bought everything, Sony's pretty much in charge.
No, I don't think Sony. No, Sony didn't buy everything. Sony basically, it's sort of like. They're the money guys.
Look back at the panel. It just says that Sony got exclusives of everything. The old animation.
Right, but they don't own. They don't own Robotech. Robotech is still owned by Harmony Gold.
Their rights aren't exclusive. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of other companies that are making toys and merch.
Exactly. And I think that, you know, basically Sony is the money guy. And, you know, it's like those mafia movies. It's like, you don't piss off the money guys, because if you do that, they take the money away, and then you're dead, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't mean dead like they shoot you. I mean not you're dead as in your company's in financial ruins. So I think that Harmony Gold, they own Robotech. Robotech is their only franchise. That's the only thing that they have. And
that's why I was thinking they lost. That's why I was hoping they lost the license so they could move on original stuff. But now we're gonna be stuck,
No, see, okay, and here's the thing. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at this not as just a fan, but as somebody who's looking at it from the other side. Okay, and fans can say whatever they want, and fans can have their own opinions, and fans can speculate and all this. I'm letting you know legally, if I were, from their side, they cannot do their limitations insofar as what they can and cannot do, what they can and cannot say. And I honestly, in my heart, believe that, number one, if you watch Tommy and it's, watch Steve, McKeever is a little difficult, but
no, McKeever.
No.
You're trying to say that you got.
Let me finish.
Yeah, but I'm saying
let me finish. Each of them have their own tells. Okay, McKeever is kind of McKeever. No. McKeever is the most difficult to read because he's higher up in the food chain. But it's like if you play poker against them, they all each individually have their tells. If you go watch them in the panels, and I can tell when Tommy is like basically going, I can't say anything because I'm on a gag order, because of how he answers. I can tell when Steve says something, when Steve is basically, his hands are tied, he goes, when he answers, either because he says it, I don't know, or I cannot say, or no comment, or you can tell by his body language. McKeever is the tough one because, I made a comment that, McKeever's like a game show host. I think that's his cover, by being, hey, I'm Kevin McKeever and I'm running this panel. How you doing? That kind of thing. I think that's his way of like going, look, you can't, I'm not going to give anything away. And if it looks like I'm going to give anything away, you don't know if I'm giving anything away or am I? So, and Kevin, that makes Kevin super, super savvy, super, super slick, very smart. And I think that, there's a lot of things that we're not seeing because we're not in the Harmony Gold Ivory Tower, and we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how.
Here's the thing where I'm throwing everything water on that. I'm throwing everything water on that because you go by history. You go by what they've been doing for the last year repeatedly through all the time is they're just repeating the same thing.
Right. Well, the other thing too,
the panel we just watched is almost the same thing for years.
It's verbatim. It's a company line. But just so you know that I haven't consumed the poison Kool-Aid.
To me, it doesn't look like they're hiding something. To me, it's like they got nothing.
Well, again, I'm not going to say that I'm okay. Just so you know, I haven't consumed the poison Kool-Aid. As a fan, I'm frustrated more end of the comics because I'm sitting there going, come on, man. The comics were the best part, the easiest way for them to keep the franchise alive in the minds of fans because it was coming out approximately every 6 weeks. It would have been monthly, but because they're produced in Europe and they have to be shipped over and, customs and blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, I think, I'm going off of past history. I honestly believe that they're not saying anything because they want to make sure that they're good to go. They want to make sure to go, okay, you know what? We have 5 minutes of animation produced for a new animated series. Here you go. And they don't want to make the same mistake that they did with the Academy.
They're not good to go right now.
No, they're not.
They're not good to go. They don't have a director. That's right there. It tells me without that director, you ain't got nothing.
Well, what that tells me is they're snake bit. Is what that tells me. Because if you've noticed, every time we've lost a director since it's been at Sony, it's because they see the new shiny object that they have to go work on.
Exactly.
It's got nothing to do with Hollywood politics. It's got nothing to do with money. It's got nothing to do with nothing except shiny, and they go over to that. And Machete. Oh my God, Machete went on record on so many occasions, even prior to Robotech. Like when he was doing it, they said to him, and one of the questions they asked him, they go, "Hey man, once you're done with your second, your follow-up move for it, like to do, and he said, I would love to do a big MCU type movie, but I don't want to do a Marvel movie. I would love to do something, with the other guys, with the DC characters. Not a big character like Superman or Batman, but a smaller character. And they go, "Do you have one in mind?" And he goes, "Yeah." And they're trying to get it out of him. And he finally said The Flash. So I think, he goes, but there's a TV series, so I don't know if they're going to actually do that or not. And I think that, Machete was kind of using Harmony Gold as leverage. You know what I mean? And once Jason Fuchs got in, I think Jason Fuchs basically was the one who basically goes, "Hey, this is the guy who's directing the Robotech script that I'm working on, and then, one thing led to another. That was his into DC. But see, here's the other thing. Jason Fuchs hasn't left Robotech. He's still working on it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it would be very. It would be very. But Fuchs is a mondo bigger name than Machete insofar as Hollywood behind the scenes goes, because this is a guy who's wrote blockbuster after blockbuster after blockbuster. And this is a guy where studios go, "Hey, we need you to fix this script," and he goes and fixes it. But as far as we know, Robotech's basically been his bread and butter, because we haven't seen his name attached to any other big projects beyond Robotech.
DC can have Machete. We can keep Fuchs. We'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. And keep Canton and Noonery.
If they can get James Wan back, this will be the best timeline.
Yeah. Oh no. And here's the thing. Remember when Wan left Aquaman, or left Robotech to do Aquaman, or to go back and finish it, I should say, for reshoots. He made it known. He goes, "I want to return to this universe." That was one of the things he said. Because somebody asked him, "Hey, weren't you working on some robot movie?" He goes, "Yeah, Robotech." He goes, "Oh yeah." He goes, "I'm so hyped for that. I want to return to that when my schedule allows." Well, James Wan hasn't announced another movie since the last what was the not Conjuring, the other movie, Insidious. I don't remember. His horror movie franchise, and he hasn't done anything. I mean, the Trench thing hasn't really gone anywhere, but I think he's lying in the wait, just
Well, and again, there's like a COVID. All this COVID.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, this is just speculation. But I would not be surprised. It wouldn't surprise me if they go, "We got James Wan. They don't just say we got James Wan. They will say we just inked him." Because if you notice, they say we got Andy Machete, we got James Wan, we got this guy, we got that guy. They've never once said we've inked him. They never said that this guy is signed on the dotted line. They never said we have a contract. See? So they basically had a verbal agreement. And in Hollywood, a verbal agreement means squat.
Means nothing.
Same as anywhere else.
I mean? Yeah.
Look at Andy Machete. Yeah.
It's like what's that line? What's that line in that movie? Oh, he has no honor. But I mean, until they, whereas at Jason Fuchs, they said they signed him, and he's locked in. He's been probably the reason why he's been with it so long and writing so many drafts is because they're trying to go, "Hey, look, this is going to cost too much. Hey, that cost too much. Hey, this costs too much." And they're trying to write the script to a budget, but they haven't announced a budget. But they're trying to give him, but only he knows what the parameters of the budget is, and they're trying to give him the opportunity to work within those parameters, because the screenwriter has the most difficult job, because they have to write to appease the producers, the money guys, the studio, all these other people, in order to make the thing run. And then once he turns in that draft, he has to appease the director, whomever he or she may be, to write within their parameters, to have a shooting script.
Every time they add more people to the production, it has to be rewritten. They have to rewrite it for specific actors,
or remove people, remove people from it. Because it's like anything in the studio system, there are notes being flown around all over the freaking place, and it's ridiculous. You go, how come movies? That's why you see like indie movies, being made like lightning fast. I mean, I remember Tommy told me. He goes, "Hey, have you seen that movie District 9?" I go, "No." He goes, "Watch that movie." I go, "Why?" He goes, "Just watch it. Tell me what you think." I watched it. Meh. But I have a feeling the reason why he was saying that was because he wanted to get a fan's take on whether or not that director might fit within the Robotech universe.
Well, that movie was directed by Neil Blomkamp, who happens to be a Robotech Macross fan. So
yeah, and I watched it. I was kind of like, but I think that if they're going to hand him the keys, and he did that movie for under $50 million, I believe. Whereas Robotech is going to be 300 to 500 easy, and I think that they're going to, I don't know if they're going to hand they're not the MCU, they're not Disney, they're not going to hand the keys to a big franchise to somebody. They go, well,
I don't think it's going to be that high. I think I think the Mandalorian has proven that they could do similar effects with a much lower budget. So,
but when I say that much, I don't mean the production budget. I mean that goes into marketing and advertising and all that stuff. It's like when I say like that, I'm not talking about a shooting budget. I'm talking about like the whole ball of wax to get like all the posters out there and to produce trailers and to have like billboards on buses and the whole thing, because I mean that's the other thing people forget, or don't know, is in Hollywood, that when they say a movie costs like X number of millions of dollars, that includes marketing.
Yeah, it's mostly marketing.
Yeah, and they don't realize, they go, oh, well, Zac Efron was in Baywatch and he got $10 million. Yeah. They goes, what is a $50 million movie? Yeah, that was just for the production of the movie. That movie actually, the reason it goes, but it was profitable. No, it wasn't. How can you say that? Because they spent over $200 million in advertising and marketing and stuff. That movie tanked. So that's why you don't see a lot of sequels, or that's why you see a movie and you go, that's not successful and whatnot. You look on Wikipedia or IMDb and you go, like the last Charlie's Angels movie, and you go, wow, that movie really sucked. And I go, yeah, but it wasn't because the box office. It was because it didn't exceed beyond the box office. Because but the irony is, for every Charlie's Angels, which had like minimal advertising, you get a movie that has like humongoid word of mouth. Battle Angel Alita. That movie had almost zero advertising too, outside the trailers and stuff. But because it was a James Cameron produced movie, because it was Robert Rodriguez who shot it at Troublemaker Studios in Texas, and basically did how the Jon Favreau learned from all the stuff that he did for Mandalorian. He learned from Robert Rodriguez. That movie made bank because it cost almost next to nothing for them to produce, and the box office just killed it. I mean, it wasn't like a $1 billion movie, but for a movie of a franchise that's only known primarily amongst anime fans and some Japanese fans, movie did really, really well. And for something that James Cameron's been holding on to for like 30 years, it was a really it was really successful. So I again, it when you hear 500 million, that's going to be like the everything, the whole thing. And then when they say the numbers of this, that, like when you hear like Avengers Endgame made like, what is it, almost $2 billion, Disney basically broke even because they spent a boatload of money marketing the movie internationally, and that covers the stuff like the Happy Meals and all that stuff too. But yeah, Memo, I think that with regards to the animation, that's going to be the hook for Robotech, for how they're going to do Robotech. They're going to use the animation to keep the old school fans, and the live action movie is going to be basically where the old school and the new school fans merge. But
we need to address the fact that the term reboot can have two extreme meanings. On the one hand, you have the Watchmen movie, which was like a shot-for-shot adaptation. He was literally standing on set with the comic open in his hands while they were making it. And
without the giant space squid. Without the giant space squid, he changed the ending.
Without the stupid space squid that nobody really liked. Anyway.
Well, I can tell you the origin of the space squid. But I know the origin of the space squid.
On the other end of the spectrum, you have like your Battlestar Galactica Ron Moore, which changes everything. And you have Robotech Remix, which is kind of closer to the Moore end of the spectrum, where it starts off in the same place, but then halfway through, you've got time travelers and alternate dimensions, and the Invid being introduced 2 sagas too early, which I'm not a fan of that. For my personal, taste, I'd rather something closer to the Watchmen end of the spectrum. But wrapping that all around to my thoughts, since we've finally gotten around to me, I will agree that this wasn't a surprise as far as what we saw in the panel, in the pre-recorded panel. The Muschietti weirdness happened right before Christmas. Nobody does anything over Christmas and winter unless you're out shooting a movie in the snow. And then right after winter, you had COVID, which everything shut down. So no, you shouldn't have expected any news from this unless it was news about deals being made, and that's what they talked about was new merch coming out, merch coming all the time. And the partnership with Sony, they reiterated that and talked that up quite a bit. But yeah, it's world events happened, and things take time. And we touched on Neil Blomkamp. They gave him District 9 because they didn't trust him to do the Halo movie. Guess what? We still don't have, and that franchise is the damn Death Star compared to Macross Island of Robotech, right?
Yeah.
We still don't have a Halo movie. We don't even have a Halo movie on the horizon in the same solar system. So it's just things play out in Hollywood the way they play out, and you need to keep that in mind and not get your hackles up too much just because it's not happening as fast as you think it's going to happen.
Exactly. Well, Spielberg's got a chokehold on Halo, and he's working with Microsoft and Microsoft Network to do Halo TV series, Halo movie, Halo this, Halo that.
Yeah.
And basically, he got a jump start, recharge when he did Ready Player One. So I think that's part of it. The other part is, and you mentioned the thing about the Invid.
Yeah. The Halo Spartans were conspicuously present in the foreground.
Yes.
At the end of Halo, was it Ready Player One?
Yes, and that's because yeah. Now, with regards to you're mentioning this is another Carl Masick story, and the reason why Carl was frustrated, because believe it or not, Carl actually was going to do a reboot, was working on a novelization reboot for Robotech. And he was basically his goal was that he wanted to shake things up. So everything that we saw in the current comic books were basically, and I have a feeling Tommy shared this with the comic book creators, and that's why it played out the way it did. Was these are things Carl was going to be monkeying around with regards to continuity for Robotech, because his intent was that he wanted the Invid like right after the big Zentradi War. It wasn't going to be the Robotech Masters. He wanted the Invid to come in right then and there and nuke the Zentradi, and to basically take over the Earth and say, put the big middle finger up to the Robotech Masters, going, haha, we own protoculture. And then the Robotech Masters were going to come and they're going to fight, and basically Earth was basically going to be like that terrible John Travolta movie, Battlefield Earth. Basically, it's going to be it was basically going to be the location of this war between these two other entities, and we're stuck in the middle. But because the animation was done by 3 different animation groups within Tatsunoko, and because it was already pre-produced animation, he had to work with what he had. And so, but Carl had a lot of fertile ideas with regards to what he wanted to do with Robotech, and that was one of them. So when I saw the Invid in the comics, and it was jump started forward, like, oh my God, I'm like, did Carl write this? Because I freaked out. I was like, yeah, because I thought this was something that Carl had mentioned to both me and Tommy a long time ago, and it was awesome. But yeah, I think that. Harmony Gold, there are a lot of fans who are out there. I won't mention who they are, but we know who they are, who really hate Harmony Gold because of whatever their motivations are. And
that's pretty easy.
Yeah. But
I mean, they haven't done nothing in what, so many years other than
But see, again,
that's pretty easy.
I think the reason, again, I honestly believe it's because there, if you know,
dude,
Frank,
come to the
if you know Frank,
what is Harmony?
No. I'm not talking about Tommy McKeever and Steve. I'm talking about Frank.
That's one of the main reasons. Harmony Gold hasn't done nothing.
No, I'm talking about Frank Agrama. Frank Agrama
All right.
is the big guy. You know, he's the top dog at Harmony Gold. He owns it, and I believe that, you know, he's the type, and I've worked for him, so I can tell you, he's the type of guy who he's not going to basically blow his wad on speculation. He has to have everything rock solid before he says anything, because he learned his lesson from Sentinels. Sentinels, they only had 3 or 4 episodes done before the bottom fell out on the currency exchange rate.
What year was Sentinels? What year was Sentinels?
86.
86, 87.
Yeah.
But
What
see, that's
year
the thing.
are we now that he hasn't learned?
No, but here's the thing, Memo. He's an old dude, like in his 70s or 80s, right? I mean, he was old when I worked for him back in the day. But I'll tell you, he's old dude. He's like old school. He's like, hey, you know what? I got burnt once. That's never ever happening to me again. Period. And you know, I don't care if it's next year or if it's the next 100 years. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. That's Frank Agrama. And I think that's one of, and he passes those marching orders down to everybody who works in his company, who's part of his company. And I honestly believe that that's the reason why you're frustrated, and a lot of fans are frustrated because they're not saying anything. It's because it's coming from the top down. You know, when they have, like, I mean,
so there's your,
you know,
there's your answer. That's what
no, not at all, because
that's what a lot of fans are mad about, because nothing's been coming out.
No, and you say nothing.
No,
stuff has been coming out. Stuff has been. I mean, you know, Frank could have just basically let, you know,
the only thing that came out was
let the Sony. No. Sony. He could have let the Sony deal basically just be done in the trades. You know, Variety and Hollywood Reporter and stuff. But he told his guys, "Hey, look, tell them at the con." Right? He could have just told everybody.
For Frank Agrama right now.
No. I'm just saying. You know,
okay.
Frank. You know, when you're talking about, you know, a multinational company that's structured, you know, that's not just known. They're not just producing cartoons. They're doing all kinds of other stuff that we don't know about. But this is their only franchise. You know what I mean? And I don't think they you know, they're still kind of learning, even after 35 plus years, of how to like work within those parameters. You know what I mean? They're trying to do things in their own way, and they have a very, 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 very wide learning curve, I guess, in how they do things.
And that's the frustration,
and that's fine.
Of the fans.
Well,
yeah.
But see, here's the thing. Do the fans pay for any of this stuff? Are the fans giving Frank Agrama money to go ahead and do this? You know, no. I mean, it was evident by the Kickstarter that, you know, the majority of the fans didn't want to participate for whatever reason. That's
the problem with the Kickstarter. The problem with the Kickstarter was
one major reason for me that I saw on Academy was execution. They didn't have nothing ready.
Right.
They were not communicating.
No.
They were not.
I understand that. But
how are you going to give money to somebody who has problems of producing, and still when it came to Academy, there was nothing there?
Right. No, I understand that. But on the business end of, if you flip it the other way, okay, they were going, hey, we got a boatload of fans here. They want new Robotech. Okay, let's ask them to participate and join us. They give us, you know, XYZ amount, and we'll cover the rest. That's probably what they were thinking. I would be willing to bet you that's what they were thinking.
I can tell you exactly what they were thinking. They were thinking, holy shit, Palladium just blew the wad all over the internet on this Kickstarter. Let's scramble to put something together. And I don't think either side of the argument is wrong, because the people who were at fault in this particular case are Palladium. Palladium was going up in flames right as the Robotech thing hit. And it's the classic Robotech thing. It's timing. You know, they got fucked over in the 80s, and they got fucked over by Netter Digital with Robotech 3000. They went under, and here we go again with the Kickstarter. It's a goddamn sure thing. And who could have predicted that the company that they've been working with for decades, who's been rock solid, who brought in a partner who's been doing this stuff and has been solid, you know, who would have guessed that would have exploded in their face? You know, it's just it's the Robotech thing.
Well, the other thing. Yeah, but see, here's the other thing. I don't think that even at HG they really had a point guy. for the Kickstarter. It was like
That's what they needed.
on Harmony Gold's site, it was authority by committee. You know what I mean? It wasn't any one individual. It was a group of people. And I think
Like I
when
said,
you have
they
that,
were rushing.
yeah, I think
They
if
were
you
rushing.
have that, yeah, if you have that, it's it's a recipe for disaster on all ends.
It's a strike
You
while
know,
the iron is hot, which is a great thing for business, but it's a terrible thing for creatives. you know?
right?
And
Yeah, and I
plus they were
think
new
that
to
they had a
Kickstarter.
lot of and they
the
had a
one thing
lot
I
of
didn't like
creative
was
people involved in the operation of the Kickstarter, and I think that's
the
where they
one
needed
thing-
to have a business guy or
the
businesswoman.
one thing I didn't like in the execution is everything was secret till the Kickstarter opened. If
Right,
would've-
because
if
they
would've
didn't know
come
what they were
forward
doing.
days ahead, months ahead, and start producing and say, we're going to open a Kickstarter in 2 months, please help us out. But start
Yeah,
showing work, start showing progress, start showing things. And the Kickstarter opens and boom, now it's a run to the
Yeah,
finish.
well, here's my thing. When they announced the Kickstarter at Comic-Con, not AX, Comic-Con, I would be willing to bet you dollars for donuts.
It was Anime Expo.
Was it Expo? Because it went live at San Diego.
Anime Expo. It went live at Anime Expo.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they basically they said, hey, look, we're gonna do this, and if somebody in the company was like a month in, and they were probably thinking of Palladium, and they're going, you know what, it's gonna be a piece of cake. We'll we'll have crowdfund participation. It's not gonna. We're gonna, let's just set it up. It took like a few weeks. When I say a few weeks, anywhere between like a week to a month. And they basically slapped it together and then presented it. And then, but it really blew up in San Diego, Memo. And I remember the reaction. And I was like scratching my head going, well, okay, yeah.
Yeah, by the time it hit San Diego, it was problems on it.
Yeah, well, my question was, I go, is this going to be like the original Macross, VHS that they threw heavy metal, or is this going to be like an actual TV series or what? And when they come up with an answer to it, that's when I made my decision going, I'm not going to participate in this because I don't care what they're going to have as these, raised tiers thing or whatever.
I remember them specifically saying that they wanted to do a pilot so they could shop it around to the thing. And that's, I had no problem with that. I'm like, I want more Robotech.
Yeah.
I will go out on a limb and invest. And I dumped a bunch of money on it, and then it just didn't happen. But
yeah, well,
I think it was interesting that as probably rushed as it was, I mean, they had character designs, they had mecha designs, they had fleshed out ship designs, they had a CG model of the base set up.
For Alice Space, yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering how many other similar projects that they have kind of on the shelf that are in a state where they could just hey, send the art out to a bunch of guys and build some CG models in a week and put something together like this.
Okay.
Because that came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, right? Number one, Tommy, having worked in comics prior to doing all this, he's constantly doing, having to submit designs and stuff. It's like, okay, for merchandising, right? If you look at all the merchandising that's been going on for Robotech, until the Udon pins today that were in the panel, the majority of the art was stuff done by Tommy in his style. Until the Udon pins, which look like, the original old school 80s art book style line art, everything, looked like it was done by Tommy, like post Shadow Chronicles style. And the reason being is because that's all Tommy does, I mean, that's one of the big things that he's doing is he's having to do turnaround sheets and stuff for all kinds of merchandising and marketing and, for toys and for shirts and for posters and for this, that, and the other thing. And so, I don't, everybody goes, well, Tommy only does animation. No. Tommy's an artist. He's also an art director. He's in charge of anything that has to do with the visuals as well as creative content. So that there's that. With regards to Academy, there was so much art that was shown in San Diego, at least. And the reason being was because Tommy was like grinding it out. And he also has connections in the comics industry, like with Eric Cohen and Udon. He knows a lot of those guys, and those guys, they see his sheets or his style, they'll mimic it. So that's not going to be a problem. And insofar as the CG stuff, you know, he has connections overseas, you know, from when he did Shadow Chronicles. So for them to produce the CG, you know, the CG stuff, you know, as a favor, you know, do them a solid or whatever, or, you know, if you do these things, you know, when we're ready to go, you're going to be the studio that does this, that, or the other thing. You know, he already had deals in place for that kind of stuff to happen for R&D.
For the CG,
so, you know,
for the CG, Tommy said it was at the panel. He said the guys from Argentina was involved.
Huh?
Cesar Torturo was involved.
Yeah, but yeah, from Argentina, yeah. And it was part of their deal with the cease and desist that the fan films that they did, which were excellent, by the way. But yeah, you know, my thing is this, you know, as I always walk, I'm always going to walk that line between the two, between the corporate and between the fan, and I'm always going to do that with regards to Robotech franchise, because I've done both. I started as a fan, I got involved in, you know, working for the company, then I returned as a fan. Yeah, I'm frustrated by the lack of stuff and the lack of news and the lack of, you know, anything from them. But on the same token, I understand why, because I was there. You know, I was there when they had. Dude, you want to talk about nothing? When I was there,
no. Before
it was worse than nothing.
Hey, Dexter, we haven't heard from. I heard from Mike Trez. I heard from Lancer. I want to hear from Maverick.
Yeah.
Maverick, okay. You haven't spoken all this time. It's just me and him going off right now. So,
well,
what are your thoughts of the panel and what news came out from Comic-Con online?
My thoughts are it's they can't say much. We're in a unique situation now with this pandemic, so it's kind of like it kind of threw a wrench in their plans. And not just for them, but for everyone involved. So I think they can't divulge much because right now there's a lot of unknowns. We don't know how long this pandemic's going to last. So it's already having a huge impact on the entertainment industry, not just only in Hollywood, but also worldwide. And some companies are basically on the brink of bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So there are going to be some opportunities. My prediction is going to be some opportunities where some of the bigger companies are going to start, you know, basically bailing out some of these smaller companies that own certain IPs. And we're starting to see that now with, like, for example, James Bond with MGM. And and also I also believe that with 21st Century Fox, 20th Century Fox now being part of Disney, they also now own the X-Men. And you're gonna see that in I believe in Phase 4, you know. And these are it's tough times right now for the movie and the media and entertainment industry right now. And because of that, those that will survive will probably end up picking up a lot of these IPs. Now my question right now is, like, you know, how are things in Japan in terms of the anime industry? From what I hear, they're not doing so well as they used to be. They've been hit hard with this, not just. Well, they were hit hard even prior to this crisis that we're having.
Well, I know that the last time something like this happened was a little over a decade ago with SARS.
Yes.
And I will use the example of Wolf's Rain, the animated series. The animated series was contracted for 26 episodes. They only produced 22 original episodes. They had 4 recap episodes that were peppered in. And they ended up finishing the series as a series of OAVs. Or they broadcast them on one of the satellite networks like Wow. And I think that, so, you know, unless it's a big name, you know, like an Attack on Titan or a Full Metal Alchemist or something that's really, really huge or trendy, which I'm not aware of because I don't watch a lot of huge, trendy anime. I know that the studios are hurting. And I also know that it's got like a downhill effect, because if the studios in Japan are hurting, the studios outside of Japan, like in Singapore and in South Korea, are even worse because they farm out a lot of their stuff to those guys, you know. So yeah, the animation industry as a whole, but primarily anime, yeah. I mean, we're not hearing anything with regards to new materials. I mean, the last news I heard was the final season of Attack on Titan's coming out, but that was done pre-COVID. They were just posting that. So do the post production on that. So I don't. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about new stuff. I think a lot. If anything, what I've seen is they're starting to rebroadcast some classic stuff, like they did during the SARS epidemic. Because I know that like the Yamato revival happened during the SARS epidemic. I know that like the giant robot, the Go Nagai stuff, started happening during that epidemic. I know that that kind of stuff. Oh, everybody's right now watching 2 movies to see how they're going to do in Japan. Number 1 is City Hunter, because it's the first new City Hunter in like 15, almost 20 years. And it's done in the traditional style. It's done like Shadow Chronicles. It's done with the traditional style, but with some CG involved. The second movie, and this is one that's going to be near and dear to Memo's heart, is the new Lupin movie that Richard Epcar is dubbing, because that's the first complete like Pixar style CG anime movie, like 100% like big franchise movie. So it'll be very interesting to see how those two turn out. If the trailers are any indication, City Hunter is going to kick ass because it's City Hunter. And Lupin, I think Lupin is going to change the way anime is going to be done. I really do. I don't think that they're going to fully embrace the Pixar style, but I think you're going to be seeing a lot more of that because it's a little bit faster insofar as being able to produce sequels and stuff, because it's all, having to tweak what's already in the computer. But yeah, those are the 2 things I think with regards to animation, because they'll be able to produce it more economically and quicker once, if those 2 movies do really, really well.
Well, my prediction is that
the Astro Boy movie, which did not do so well, but
right, because it was produced in the United States and it was terrible.
Well, and it also looked ugly as sin. So
yeah, because I don't imagine
the Lupin one's going to look much better. But
actually, the trailers look amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think my prediction is that because of this situation that's happened economically with every company in the industries, there's a lot of downsizing and amalgamation. Some companies are merging and buying each other's assets. I think it's more of an asset thing. So I think what you're going to see is I think Sony will pull through this. I think they're a pretty large company. They have their businesses not just in filmmaking but also electronics and other. They have their little paws in different sections of the pie. So I think when they survive this, they may acquire some assets.
Sony's the only one that's not in debt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking there's going to be some opportunities for them to buy out like animation companies in Japan and maybe in South Korea, and maybe able to absorb it into the Sony family of companies. And maybe we're going to see something in the future, maybe 2-3 years from now. I'm thinking 22 months when all this is
there's going to be a consolidation. Yeah, yes. For sure.
And I think that's going to help.
Earlier, Kevin McKeever?
Kev likes to post about how Sony's pretty much the only major movie studio.
Yeah, but also
that's not in debt.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. You guys are speaking over each other, all 3 of you. Mike, what did you say about Kevin McKeever?
I said Kevin is fond of pointing out on Facebook that Sony is the only major movie studio that's not like in crippling debt.
Yeah. He's also saying that because he wants to blow sunshine in Sony's face so that they prioritize Robotech. I mean, Kevin's, like I said, that's what makes Kevin very, very savvy. He's not stupid. Yeah. He's not going, gee, Mrs. Cleaver, you look really nice today in that dress. No, he's actually doing it by stating facts.
And it's relevant to the situation we're in. I do follow a lot of trendy anime, and most of it they just postponed it. That stuff that was supposed to come out in January and February is only now coming out in July. So you had some shows where they were already in the can and they just let them run, a couple of them, but most of them, the ones that are ongoing series, all got delayed. So I don't think that the COVID thing is going to be that big of a stumbling block to them, because it's all, the infrastructure's all still there. They're just gonna go back to work. The thing that's going to be a stumbling block for them in the future is
China, and produce very well, but I think
China's making their own stuff. They're making their own IPs.
But they're also the money. China's also the money right now.
Well, we'll see how
to
long
bring in
that
the
lasts.
word. So now with that problem, it's kind of put that on the burner. But I think Australia and New Zealand is pretty good, and especially New Zealand for movie production. It just when they get a director, it's what direction they'll go.
Well, again, I think that HG is being very, very savvy. I mean, as a fan, it's frustrating because, all this silence or whatever, it allows for fans to speculate and the haters are going to hate and the people who support the franchise are going to continue to, do the rah-rah spoon boss stuff. But, what it all boils down to is, I would much rather them be silent and then, make a big blow-up announcement than to just constantly say stuff just for the sake of saying stuff. Because that's,
what's good for the fan isn't necessarily good for the franchise.
Yes and no.
That's kind of what we butt up against.
Yeah, but I mean, I look at Star Trek as the model, because after the original, I mean, historically, I've been watching a lot of documentaries, but historically there was like about a 10-year gap between the end of the original Shatner series and the first Star Trek movie, and there were like in between there.
There was a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, well, no. Insofar as Star Trek in and of itself, they had like 2 or 3 different like starts and stops, and they were like, in 1972 they were going to do a continuation series, and that bottomed out. And then in 1975, Paramount was at the time going to launch they're going to launch a 4th TV network, and Star Trek Phase 2 was going to be the thing, and that bottomed out. And then they were going to do another Star Trek TV, a different Star Trek movie, but Paramount didn't want to do the movies. And then when Star Wars, like you said, when Star Wars hit, that's when Paramount went, hey, let's do Star Trek as a movie, that kind of thing.
It's funny how history repeats itself. They were trying to do a 4th TV network back then, and then when Voyager was out, they did UPN, and it didn't go any better that time.
No, because Star Trek was basically the only thing keeping them afloat.
Yeah.
And once they ran out of ideas, they're like, oh yeah. Huh.
Yeah, but, their Kelvin Trek is not doing so well either. I haven't followed up on it, but last I heard there were grumblings that Viacom was gonna buy Star Trek back since they've had not a lot of luck with CBS All Access.
Well, CBS All Access is a lot like UPN. The only thing that they have right now is Discovery, although they have created a lot of good. Yeah. But they have created they have created a lot of goodwill with Picard, and they initially were riding that momentum with Strange New Worlds with the Pike series, but as soon as they started releasing footage of Lower Decks, the wind was basically ripped out of the sails, and they're doing a lot of damage control with regards to that. I mean, the timing for that couldn't have been any worse, because what they should have done was the Robot Chicken with the Stupid Monkey, the Star Trek series, the Stupid Monkey was going to do with the action figures. That should have been the next project, because Stupid Monkey has a really good track record, but because
their Star Wars movies were great, they should have done Star Trek.
Yeah, but they because they're tied into Cartoon Network, which is Warner Brothers, I believe. Yeah, Hanna-Barbera, Warner Brothers. They can't do Paramount, and so that's why they had to back out, because they actually had the original idea of Lower Decks, but different. They're going to use action figures, like actual, like real, and they were going to morph like the original series action figures with the other series and movies action figures together, so that there'd be like 3 different versions of Shatner. And that kind of thing. And they were going to do all kinds of crazy stuff, because I was at the panel when they announced. I was at the Robot Chicken panel when they announced it, and I was like, oh, and they showed us. They only showed one photo on their PowerPoint, and it looks so cool, but everybody was so confused. But then since then they've taken it down. Because they can't work with CBS or Paramount. So, but the panel, I saw the Star Trek panel in bits and pieces. I was like, yeah, okay. You think the Robotech panel was bad? Nah, man. They were riding the crest of all the, they put all the big popular stuff in the front, and then Lower Decks was next. I was like, okay, yeah, they knew which one, which thing to shift. Yeah, they pretty much knew what they had to do with regards to that. I feel very sad.
Bad Robotech panel.
Say again.
So you're saying you said this you thought the Robotech panel was bad. You think this is
Well,
bad?
no. Well, I don't think the Robotech panel was bad. Okay. Rephrase. The Robotech panel was bad because there was really not a whole lot of new information. I mean, one thing, the only glaring omission that I noticed was 80s tees was not presented. There was no clothing. So I was kind of like,
oh, that's true.
I'm like, okay, I wonder what's going on with
what's the other one? The one they do the figures?
Yeah, that one too.
Muscles,
yeah, I know who you're talking. Yeah, Super 7. So yeah, I was wondering. Yeah, I was wondering. Okay, what's going on with that? But the other thing that really I was shocked is they really showed how weak their panel is. Traditional panels are, because it was only, like I said, around 12 minutes, whereas when we go, it's usually a full hour, but that's mainly because it's padded with all the people asking weird questions and trying to get prizes. So yeah, that was my only downer as compared to the Keanu Reeves Constantine panel. That was a full hour something. That was very interesting. At least the version that I saw. It might have been edited for time by now, but it was.
Panel was pretty long. Other panels that I've seen are pretty long. Yeah, they have something to say, but
yeah, they almost ran the full hour. Yeah.
Well, the Udon panel was like a panel / anniversary show, so they padded the runtime with a lot of people who were former employees talking about what they did and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, there wasn't this, because I mean, as
the
fans,
runtime gimmicks are thick upon the land this year.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. At least it was much more smoother than WonderCon, Virtual WonderCon. Virtual WonderCon was a disaster because they only went. They asked for a lot of people to submit panels, but they only gave them less than a month to do it. So there are very few panels for WonderCon, and then they were going, okay, well, you know what? We're gonna stream this live. Just like how they do Star Wars Celebration. We're going to stream this live. Yay! Oh, my God. I don't know who the streaming service was for them, but that thing crashed. That thing just got hammered. And I mean, I was in it. I got in early for one panel that I wanted to go to. And then, I'm not joking, 2 minutes into the panel, gone. Everything froze. And there was no sound. It was like that robotic, how they talk sound kind of thing. And then I was sitting there going, really? For like a minute. And I'm like, okay, boom, done. And then I went back and rebooted and tried it. Same thing. Minute and a half, gone. So I knew that, when I heard that they're going to do virtual Comic-Con, they changed the name Comic-Con at home. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I already came in with the idea that this, wasn't going to be that great. But because I mean, when you see like Emerald City Comic Con, when you see C2E2, New York, Star Wars Celebration, when they stream live, man, bam! I mean, I remember what was the last celebration when they did the premiere of the Rise of Skywalker trailer. Oh my God, that was! I sat there going, there are going to be millions of people streaming this thing, and it was going to die. I go, it's going to die. No, it stayed on the whole hour and a half, man.
Money solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, it was. I'm hoping that next year, SDCC and WonderCon go live.
You guys think if I email Kev a question, he'll email me a 1/100 scale Veritech?
No.
All right. Hey man, have anything else? Because we're going on to 5. That's where I'm. It's starting to get dark over here.
Yeah, I know. It's
what else we have? That's it.
Yeah. I think we should close down the show now. It's almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you, Dexter, for joining us on the show. I want to thank Lancer. He was here earlier. He had to leave. And Trez, thank you, and Memo, thanks for showing up. It was an interesting reaction video. You could say it was kind of expected.
Much it came down to
it was kind of expected.
We all know no director. There's nothing going to be moving. So.
But you know what? There's other things that will be, you know, I'm sure there's going to be more things coming up. They have another live stream on the 28th. So I think that's the one with Tony Oliver.
It looks like they're starting to do what we do.
Yes.
You know, starting to do podcasting. So they're learning.
It's good.
That's what I like. That's what I like that they're learning. But will they have something good to say now? You know, will they have something for the fans to take in?
Well, the interesting one will be on the 28th.
We got any?
We got
any final
will
thoughts?
They be allowed? Or will they be allowed to say anything? Don't forget too that there are unofficial gag orders when it comes to something this big.
True, but they are celebrating the Robotech 35th anniversary, and they brought on board, I think, Tony Oliver and was it Reba West?
Are they going to do Robocon 35?
Yeah.
On the 28th, yes. On the 28th, they have a panel. For some reason, they have it posted there, and yeah. So I'm kind of I'm sure they're going to talk about something, because I think part of it is also regarding Funimation as well. So I'm just kind of curious what that panel is about.
What's the outlet for that one?
Let's see. I don't know if I have the link here. I saw it earlier, but we'll post it up on the Robotech World Facebook page when I find it, or if Memo finds it. Like whoever finds it, we'll post it, and then. But I won't be able to do that show. Obviously, I'd be working that day, so I won't be there. But
a lot of shows during the week I had to work, so I had to wait till after the work to go check out the panels. That's one of the things about not taking vacation during Comic-Con.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, why take vacation if you're going to just sit in front of your computer screen all day?
Yeah, true.
Is that what you do?
No, man.
My job.
No, man. It's like I've been doing my day gig. As soon as they canceled, I was like pissed because there went my summer vacation. But you know, I'm like, well, you know, that means I'm saving a grip of money and not buying stuff and not having to pay for parking.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and let's not forget Memo's favorite junk food, like the $75 hot dog jerky. And then he goes, "Oh man, I shouldn't have had that hot dog." He sits in the booth the next day. I shouldn't have had that hot dog, man. Yeah. And then what does he do? He goes out and buys some nachos. Then the next day, oh, I shouldn't have had those nachos, man.
The burritos, man, those are the best thing.
Yeah, but they don't serve burritos. You have to go outside to get them. You don't, not the con food. That's good. That's tip number one. Never eat the food made in the convention center.
Yep.
Go outside.
Like con funk.
Yeah, it's not healthy.
Go outside, get real food.
Yeah, it's definitely not healthy for you.
All
right. So on behalf of Memo, myself, and Trez and Dexter and Brian earlier, I want to say thank you to all the fans out there watching us, and hopefully you give us a like and subscribe, spread this video around. Please leave a share, and if there's anything you want to discuss, please be free to post it in the comments below. And we'll see you next time on Robotech World. Hopefully that'll be sooner rather than later. I think our previous show was in April, and hopefully we'll get something in the next convention. What's the next one, Memo? WonderCon? Which one's the next one?
That's it. That's all the conventions till it's gonna be up to Harmony Gold to post videos now and get people informed. Or if some news breaks out, there's a director talking to Sony about Robotech, then that's when we jump in and go, finally.
Okay. Well, anyway, on behalf of all of us here on Robotech World Podcast, I would like to bid adieu, and we'll see you next time.